95% of the world's supply of medication. That's 95% of the world using 15% of the leftover medications, with over 53 other countries living longer than we do here in the United States today. So instead, let's help your body regain its health naturally. Begin your adventure in health with us today by calling our HealthQuest radio hotline and reserve your very own new patient strategy consultation with me. Call 800-794-1855. That's 800-794-1855. Oh, and listen to HealthQuest Radio with me, Dr. David Kolbaba, every Saturday morning at 11.
Hey, heard you're getting ready to move.
We just listed our house on the market.
Just make sure you have the right attorney.
Doesn't the real estate agent take care of all that?
They stay involved, but you want to make sure you have a great lawyer that's negotiating the terms, helping resolve inspection items, clearing up title issues, preparing the deed and other documents, and attending the closing.
The attorneys at Nauman & Associates in Elk Grove Village have decades of experience handling real estate transactions every day all over Chicagoland. NALawGroup.com.
You need a construction company, but who?
Call Crosscom.
A construction company you can trust that shares your Christian and conservative values. For decades, Crosscom has been doing work in Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana, and Wisconsin. Roofs, siding, windows, doors, gutters, basically everything for your home or business, even solar. Quality work and professional services that make you feel great about your decision to work with Crosscom.
Call Crosscom.
630-871-5500. Give them a chance to earn your business. If your repairs are due to storm, fire, or flood damage, you need to
call Crosscom.
They're licensed public adjusters. They work for you, not the insurance company. Crosscom will work to get you the money you deserve, the maximum payout. They know the insurance companies and how to deal with them. They win for you.
Call Crosscom.
Crosscom Construction and Public Adjusters.
This is Dan Lights with Crosscom. You can trust us with your home or business for high-quality work and fair prices. It's the only way we do business.
630-871-5500. CrosscomPublicAdjusters.com.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank that cares about your business and is invested in your success. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Chris Johnson, CEO of Classic Cinemas and proud customer of Signature Bank. We are a local family-owned business that is known for free refills on all sizes of popcorn, soft drinks, and ices. With over 9,000 heated recliners in 16 locations, we marry the traditions of the past with today's state-of-the-art technology. Throw in a 30-minute guarantee and an after-movie mint, and you have the perfect night out. As we strive to make every guest our priority, Signature Bank does the same with their customers. The team at Signature Bank is interested in taking my company forward. They have all the resources and solutions of the big banks, but they customize their offerings to meet my business needs. The customer always comes first with Signature Bank.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
When it comes to industrial coating and finishing, cutting corners isn't an option. That's why leading manufacturers across the Midwest trust D&D Industrial Coatings in Racine, Wisconsin. From powder coating and liquid painting to blasting and custom finishing, D&D Industrial delivers top-tier protection and performance, fast, precise, and built to last. With over 40 years of experience, ISO-certified processes, and state-of-the-art lines, D&D handles everything from OEMs and petrochemical to agriculture, marine, construction, medical, and government specs. Family-owned, nationally trusted. Whether it's a short run or high volume, your parts are in expert hands, finished on time and finished right. Visit them today, ddindustrial.net. Again, that's ddindustrial.net. Or call them at 262-637-0686 to get your custom quote today. Again, that's 262-637-0686. D&D Industrial Coatings. Engineered to protect. Finished to impress.
Unreadable, inconsistent part marking is more than a nuisance. It's a liability. When your part marks fade, your quality and credibility also fade. GT Schmidt helps manufacturers leave a permanent mark on their products. Laser, dot peen, scribe, and roll marking systems. Our machines engrave everything from serial numbers, date codes, certification marks, barcodes, 2D matrices, and logos on metal, plastic, anodized coatings, and more. GT Schmidt laser systems provide high speed, versatility, and durability with non-contact precision. Harsh environment, rugged parts? GT Schmidt pin markers produce deep, reliable marks. Parts small or large, flat or round, we engineer systems to your specific application. GT Schmidt, the name for dependable part identification and traceability, setting the standards since 1895. Right now, save 10% off standard GeoMark Pro lasers and standard Styliner pin markers. Visit gtschmidt.com for the marking machine that's right for you. Made in the USA. GT Schmidt, your mark made to last.
Did you know that AM 560 Radio has a full-service digital marketing division called Salem Surround? If you're a business decision maker, listen up. AM 560 listeners are everywhere your potential audience is. So are our incredible targeting capabilities. We localize digital marketing and put it within reach of every business, small and large, in Chicagoland and beyond. Salem Surround offers AI-powered marketing solutions that reach your ideal audience. Whether or not you tap into the proven live, local, and emotional connection that AM 560 radio brings, Salem Surround offers a total marketing solution to our partners. All-in-one digital solutions that provide targeted local digital and social media ads, Google AdWords management, website services, video strategy, search optimization, and even a management dashboard to offer you total campaign updates and transparency. Your Salem Surround representative is located right here in Chicago. Experience the Salem Surround digital revolution today. Call 847-472-8951. That's 847-472-8951.
Don't miss cutting-edge coverage of daily news from an America First perspective on the Alex Marlow Podcast on the Salem Podcast Network.
Everything I'm seeing from the public is that public does not like the idea of just pure welfare and charity being done for people who are able to work and are not willing to work. So able-bodied people have got to get back to work.
Subscribe today on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
Making the switch to a new communications and IT company may seem like a big ordeal, but if you're not getting the reliable support, consistent internet, and secure solutions your company needs, meet Access One, your local Chicagoland IT experts. Access One has been powering Chicago businesses with secure, reliable IT solutions for over 30 years from our headquarters right here in the West Loop. Whether it's VoIP phones, dedicated internet, managed cybersecurity, cloud backups, or 24/7 support, Access One is here for you. Serving thousands of companies from Naperville to the North Shore, Access One is Chicago-owned and Chicago-run, a trusted IT partner for law firms, clinics, tech startups to manufacturers. We'll make the switch easier than you think. Let's talk. Call 800-804-8333 or visit accessoneinc.com. Rated top 5% in customer satisfaction and a Better Business Bureau A+ rated business. That's accessoneinc.com. Tech made personal locally.
This is Carol Platt-Liebel for townhall.com. Ronald Reagan, one of our greatest presidents, once quipped that the closest thing to eternal life on earth is a government program. But when it comes to government employment, the Trump administration is turning that truism on its head. Thanks to DOGE, the U.S. government will have 300,000 fewer people working for it. That's the largest single-year cut in civilian federal employment since World War II. The total reduction amounts to a 12.5% decrease in the federal workforce. Such a rapid cut is virtually unheard of. 20% of the departing bureaucrats were fired, but the rest, 80%, took advantage of buyouts or other programs that pay them while they look for another job. For once, our government has shrunk in real terms. All Americans save a little tax money and are just a little more free as a result. I'm Carol Platt-Liebel.
The Dinesh D'Souza Podcast, now available on the Salem Podcast Network.
Probably heard, but you don't have to take your shoes off anymore when you go to the airport. This really shows you how stupid government bureaucracy is. One guy takes off his shoes, everybody freaks out, and then for 20 years, all the airlines across the country make tens of millions of people actually pull their shoes off.
Subscribe today on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
I'm Ben Barzita.
And I'm Matt Nadeau, founding partners of Barzita and Nadeau Wealth Management. And after more than a decade on the air, we're excited to be back with our brand new show, Money Hour Radio.
Tune in every Saturday at 1 p.m. on AM 560 as we break down retirement planning, market trends, tax reduction strategies, and our Advance and Protect investment approach.
It's sophisticated planning, independent analysis, and trusted guidance backed by over 40 years of combined experience.
Join us for Money Hour Radio, Saturdays at 1 p.m. on AM 560.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, Doctors Economos, Gavalis, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidiscipline practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930, 630-830-4930, or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
Rashaw talks about building income in retirement.
You know, you can actually structure it in a way to have that $4,000 a month coming in the door every single month. So you don't have to look at the stock ticker and say, oh, the stock market's up today, stock market's down. You still got that $4,000 a month, and having that opportunity to take the vacations and do all the fun things in retirement that you always dream to do.
Unleash your wealth, Saturday at 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicagoland certified financial planning professional Tim Stearns discusses taxes in retirement.
Most people are paying more in taxes and keeping less of their money to live and do what they enjoy. That's why we've put out the retirement tax bill calculator online. You can see with your own eyes just how much you might be overpaying. It's a valuable tool, $500 value, but we made it free for you to view and run your own numbers at mvpcfp.com. That's mvpcfp.com.
To run your retirement tax bill calculator, go to mvpcfp.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Cornerstone Securities, LLC.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today, expect increasing cloudiness with temperatures reaching a high of 74. It won't be as warm, becoming breezy in the afternoon with a couple of showers and a possible thunderstorm. Gusty winds may accompany any downpour. Tonight, anticipate a few showers early on, then clearing up. Temperatures dropping to a low of 49, cooler than earlier. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. All eyes on Chicago. How we holding up? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro. Answer line and text line. President Trump yesterday at his presser talking about SpaceCom, the Space Command, Space Force being permanently relocated from Colorado Springs to Huntsville, Alabama. Was asked, of course, about the deployment of National Guards to Chicago, to Baltimore. He has a duty.
I didn't say when we're going in. When you lose, look, I have an obligation. This isn't a political thing. I have an obligation.
And the scrambling of resources and staging of said being reported around Chicagoland, Great Lakes, and elsewhere was the occasion that Governor Jelly Belly and his partner, BLM Brandon, and they are partners. They're partners in all these policies. Again, I say, do not narrow your focus to just BJ. It is also JB. They're a tandem. They're a duo. And so they had a press conference responding to the imminent presence of National Guardsmen in Chicago, in and around Chicago. This is the governor.
In the coming days, we expect to see what has played out in Los Angeles and Washington, D.C. to happen here in Chicago. First, Donald Trump is positioning armed federal agents and staging military vehicles on federal property, such as the Great Lakes Naval Base. It is likely those agents will be with ICE, Customs and Border Patrol, the Department of Homeland Security, and other similarly situated federal agencies. Many of these individuals are being relocated from Los Angeles for deployment in Chicago. We believe that staging that has already begun started yesterday and continues into today.
Okay, so there's the backstory what they anticipate, what is being reported, what is being seen and reported, what they anticipate. And then, of course, with his usual disingenuous earnestness for the purpose of being able to say outrageous things. This is a skill I think J.B. Pritzker learned watching Sack of Dermot, saying unreasonable things in a reasonable tone of voice, and you seem to get away with it. This is his characterization of what is to come and when it is to come. The idea is that Stephen Miller has directed ICE operations in Chicago on the occasion of the upcoming Mexican Independence Day celebrations that usually gridlock the city. I've experienced those. And there is a cruel intention here.
Second, unidentifiable agents in unmarked vehicles with masks are planning to raid Latino communities and say they're targeting violent criminals. As we saw in Los Angeles, a very, very small percentage of the individuals they will target will be violent criminals. Instead, you're likely to see videos of them hauling away mothers and fathers, traveling to work or picking up their kids from school. Sometimes they will detain, handcuff, and haul away children. They are law-abiding individuals who pay taxes and contribute to the communities, who feel safe going to work and attending mandatory immigration check-ins. In other words, they're following the law. We have reason to believe that Stephen Miller chose the month of September to come to Chicago because of celebrations around Mexican Independence Day that happen here every year. It breaks my heart to report that we have been told ICE will try and disrupt community picnics and peaceful parades. Let's be clear, the terror and cruelty is the point, not the safety of anyone living here.
The terror and cruelty is the point. So, follow up, Governor, are you saying that ICE is a terrorist organization? That's certainly the what is conjured by the rhetoric that he offers, isn't it? The terror and cruelty is the point. Well, again, just a point of order, if I can say reasonable things in a reasonable tone of voice, to compare and contrast. As Tom Homan has said any number of times, if you were in a sanctuary state and you would honor ICE detainers, then all of this could be taken care of within the criminal justice system, and you wouldn't have ICE needing to beat the streets to find people that they have a legitimate basis to apprehend and move to deportation. So the confrontations that necessarily have to occur on the street are the result of your policies, Governor, not the preference of the Trump administration's policies, right? But they're going to try to instigate confrontations for the purposes of, all of this has the insinuation of illegitimacy. So they're masked, they're removing people who are apprehending and removing people who are here legally following the law. None of that's true. None of that's true. But if you say it with a broken heart, as JB did, then of course the Chicago Press Corps will swoon. There'll be no pushback, and at least half the population will probably agree with it. But Pritzker also warns it could get even worse. They're trying to instigate confrontation. Law enforcement is trying to escalate for the purposes of ripping more people away from their families. So don't fall for their ruse.
Third, as lawful citizens exercise their First Amendment rights, Trump and his team will be looking for any excuse to put active duty military on our streets, supposedly to protect ICE. We have reason to believe that the Trump administration has already begun staging the Texas National Guard for deployment in Illinois. I want to be very clear on this point, and I want to speak directly to the press right now. We know before anything has happened here, that the Trump plan is to use any excuse to deploy armed military personnel to Chicago. If someone flings a sandwich at an ICE agent, Trump will try and go on TV and declare an emergency in Chicago. I'm imploring everyone, if and when that happens, do not take the bait.
Yeah, I don't think it's the throwing of sandwiches that's got people worked up. I think it's, well, you know, like the 58 shot and 7 murder over the weekend in Chicago. I think that's what gets people's attention, don't you? Coming up, we'll hear from BLM Brandon at same press conference. JB and BJ responding to the president. And we'll take your calls. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. That's all at 5:38. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 62 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Governor Pritzker says that President Trump is planning to send National Guard troops to Chicago.
Democrat J.B. Pritzker told reporters he also believes other federal officers from various agencies will also soon enter the city.
We have reason to believe that the Trump administration has already begun staging the Texas National Guard for deployment in Illinois.
Pritzker made the comments just moments after Trump said he plans to deploy the Guard to the Windy City to help fight crime. Pritzker once again says he does not want troops on the streets of Chicago and takes offense when Trump calls the city a hellhole. He vows to fight the troop deployments in court. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer is taking shots at President Trump as Congress comes back from its August recess. In a speech on the Senate floor, Schumer called Trump pathetic and criticized a banner posted in Washington, D.C. depicting an image of the president.
Lenin, Stalin, Mao, Putin, Kim Jong-un, and other bullies throughout history have depended on these images because they were desperate to seem powerful and important and untouchable.
Lawmakers are facing the possibility of a government shutdown as a result of the annual spending battle. Schumer took a lot of heat from his own party after voting with Republicans to avoid a shutdown in March. Republicans will once again need Democrats to pass a temporary spending bill. This report is sponsored by Starbucks. The pumpkin spice latte is back at Starbucks, crafted with their signature espresso and real pumpkin sauce, then topped with whipped cream, cinnamon, and nutmeg. The PSL, get it while it's hot or iced, only at Starbucks. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. But
Hugh Hewitt isn't sure the Democrats can come back to the center.
The Democrats are dancing on the cliff of the left that they may fall off of. Can they possibly recover? Can they get back to anything approaching the 40-yard line? Their own 40. I don't know. A few people said they already are falling. They're in free fall.
The Hugh Hewitt Show. Afternoons at 2, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for. For this free information, call 800-422-1609. 800-422-1609. 800-422-1609. Or simply visit godra.com.
The following advertisement includes a celebrity impersonation.
The summer heat in Chicagoland is no joke. And if your old air conditioner is making funny noises, you may already know it's time for a new unit.
Look, your air conditioner, it's a disaster. People are telling me it's the worst ever.
Don't sweat it, literally. When it comes to cooling your home, Air Right Heating and Cooling does it the best.
And they love our country. Beautiful people.
Rebates are still available, financing is flexible, and at Air Right installations are smooth and professional with no surprises.
It's beautiful. Some people say it's the coolest air anyone's ever felt. I don't know. That's just what they're saying. It's doing an incredible job, really tremendous.
Plus, tell them AM 560 sent you and Air Right will give you $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling, doing it right since 1959.
Viking, dedicated to creating travel experiences for the thinking person, with programs designed for cultural enrichment on board and on shore. Discover more at Viking.com.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today we'll see more clouds and cooler temperatures with breezy conditions in the afternoon. Expect a few showers and a thunderstorm later, possibly accompanied by gusty winds. The high will reach 74. Tonight there will be some showers early on, but skies will clear and temperatures will drop to 49 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Prof here, and yesterday BJ and JB held a presser to respond to DJT over the deployment of the National Guard, which he says is imminent, but he wouldn't say when. Says he has an obligation, but he's not going to say when he plans on fulfilling it vis-a-vis Chicago specifically. You heard from Jelly Belly Pritzker saying that essentially that ICE is a terrorist organization and that they're being deployed to Chicago to wreak terror and inflict cruelty on the residents of Chicago, who are particularly those who are in this country illegally but somehow are law-abiding and following the rules, according to J.B. Pritzker. Masked officers in unnamed vehicles, you know, the conjuring up all of the nefarious images that the left has used to characterize ICE as some paramilitary organization rather than law enforcement agency. And yet, and the same thing they do with the National Guard. It's the militarization. It's an abrogation of the Constitution. But we want to jealously guard our good men and women in the National Guard in terms of their deployments, their particular uses. So on the one hand, these are wonderful people. On the other hand, you're supposed to be deathly afraid of them because they're going to impose martial law and disappear your grandmother. They're saying those two things in the same breath because they're demagogues. Speaking of which, BLM Brandon used his time at the lectern to basically throw up his hands. There's nothing that he can do to stop the violence in Chicago because it's not his fault. It's not his partner JB's fault. It's the fault of red states. And until President Trump stops trafficking guns through red states to utopian big blue cities like Chicago, the violence will continue. Take a listen to this wonderful effort at anthropomorphization of inanimate objects by BLM Brandon.
We will never be able to end gun violence in Chicago as long as the president continues to allow tens of thousands of guns to be trafficked into our state and our city. The vast majority of guns do not come from Chicago. They are not made in Cook County. They are not bought in the state of Illinois. These guns come from red states. They are coming from Indiana. They are coming from Mississippi. They are coming from Louisiana. And that is the harsh reality, whether Republicans like it or not. Occupying our city will do nothing to solve this problem. No matter how much work we do or how hard we work, whether it's expanding our Detectives Bureau, investing in community violence intervention, and addressing the root causes of crime, None of it will ever be enough until the president decides to end the mass trafficking of guns in our city. For every gun that the Chicago Police Department fights to get off the streets, 2 or 3 more new guns come into our city. Chicago will continue to have a violence problem as long as red states continue to have a gun problem.
Well, it was Nixon's fault in part. He started this all, you'll recall. BLM Brandon's analysis, noted criminologist, in addition to constitutional scholar, a man of intellectual prowess, self-proclaimed. And red states have continued what Nixon started. So, I mean, look, there's best efforts notwithstanding by BJ and JB. There's nothing they can do because of these nefarious red states trafficking in guns. Well, I guess the way he makes it sound is the guns are incurring into Illinois all by themselves. Is anybody moving them into the state to the extent that that's even true? There was a look-see at the states for firearms with an Illinois recovery, top 15. This is back 2 years ago. Top 15 states for firearms with an Illinois recovery. So he talks about 24,000 guns being taken off the streets of Chicago by CPD, illicit guns. The number one state where a gun was traced that was recovered in Illinois is Indiana? No. Mississippi? No. Nope. Louisiana? No. The number one state for firearms, where firearms originated that were recovered in Illinois is, in fact, Illinois. And it's by a wide margin. It's about 5 times the number of guns that were traced back to Indiana and recovered in Illinois. But okay, that's what you're going to go with. Sure. These guns, it's a funny thing, too. I mean, just as a follow-up, so I suspect I have more firearms, me personally, Dan Proft. I suspect I have more firearms than your average gangbanger, your average habitual criminal in Chicago. And yet if I had firearms sent to me from Indiana or Louisiana or Mississippi, I would be no more likely to commit a violent crime than I have been with the guns legally in my possession at present. So why do more guns existing, moving about legally, that is, why does that necessarily mean an increase in violent crime? I'm just trying to backdoor the obvious point about the lack of impulse control and the habitual nature of the small percentage of repeat violent offenders in Chicago that are responsible for a disproportionate amount of the violent crime that this mayor and this governor do not want to prosecute, do not want to incarcerate. And the people responsible for apprehending them, they generally want to defund. Don't think so? There was the moment that shall live in infamy where all of the posturing and histrionics at yesterday's presser were dispelled. And that was BLM Brandon's moment on Morning Joe last week, where he was offered the hypothetical. You don't want, because it's about no federal troops, no federal troops, no federal troops.
No troops in Chicago! No troops in Chicago!
Yeah, right. Chant with me. That's what it's about. It's about militarization on our streets. It's about constitutional overreach. And then he's asked a hypothetical. If you could get federal funding to deploy 5,000 more police officers in the city of Chicago, would you take it? 5,000. And the country pays for it. Illinois doesn't have to solo. And he said what? He denied Morning Joe 5 times. 5 times he talked around the issue. So it has nothing to do even with the National Guard. It has nothing to do with Trump, even. These are ideologues. Defund, non-prosecution, decarceration, neo-Marxists who believe that through lawlessness, they can disintegrate the institutions and usher in some sort of proletarian, today it would be called identitarian revolution. I think people find that hard to believe, but the evidence is pretty substantial in support of the statement I just made. And no one has provided more evidence to support my claim than BLM Brandon.
Would you also like to get federal funding to help put 5,000 more cops on the street in Chicago? Would that help drive down crime?
Well, look, policing by itself is not the full strategy.
No, I understand that. You've talked about the other things you want, and I said those are good and important programs, but I'm asking also, would 5,000 more police officers on the street in Chicago be helpful to go along with all of those social programs that a lot of cities are engaging in and having success with?
Well, look, here's the best way I can put it, Joe, is that in the 90s when I was in high school, we had 3,000 more police officers and we had 900 people being murdered every single year in Chicago.
And it just goes on like that for another 2.5 minutes. No. The person who is commonsensical would say yes and. Yes, but that's not the only thing. Because here's the one thing we know. From the scholarship, from the data and science of criminology, summed up nicely by our friend Rafael Manguel from City Journal. If I had to summarize, this is Rafael Manguel, Manhattan Institute, City Journal. If I had to summarize one of the most consistent and robust findings in the criminological literature in a single sentence, it would go something like this. More policing means less crime. I know that's axiomatic. I know that comes as no surprise to most of the people, if not all of the people listening to this program. But that's just it. But that is not a truth that BLM Brandon or JB, frankly, will admit. Neither one of them. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Speaking of Morning Joe, he's even exasperated with the antics of JB and BJ. Listen to this quote-unquote radical idea Morning Joe came up with yesterday for Pritzker, trying to provide some free consulting for his presidential ambitions.
Concern is you have leaders in Chicago that see this. As you say, we've been reading about this for years now. Every weekend, and maybe crime has gone down. But, we had the mayor of Chicago on last week saying, we don't need any more police officers. Police officers aren't the answer. No police officers. I think he said no 5 times. You look what's happening this weekend. You look so, I actually think that J.B. Pritzker should do something radical. I think he should pick up the phone, call the president, and say, and I know, you don't have the constitutional authority to deploy the National Guard here and to police my you can do that in D.C., you can't do that in Chicago. But let's partner up. These are the most dangerous parts of my state. We would love to figure out how to have a partnership that's constitutional, that respects the sort of balance of federalism between the federal government and the state government. And let's work together to save lives. Because right now, just hey, nothing to see here moving along. No problem here. Hey, Donald Trump, we don't need you. And, the mayor talking about we're going to protect people's dignity in our city. Well, protect their lives. That's protecting their dignity. It would be radical for us to figure out a way to actually do what I've been saying from the very beginning on Washington, and that is seeing politicians creating partnerships that protect their people. Yeah.
That's what's called radical in leftist circles, that concept. as you've heard from many governors. You heard from John Kasich. We played that last week on MSNBC where he broke ranks and said, look, if I needed help and when I was governor and Obama was president, if the federal government was offering me help for something I needed to do at the state and local level, then I was going to take it. Obviously. Resources are scarce. If we can obtain and implement more resources to address a problem that we know those resources would help address, then why wouldn't I take it? Well, that's the sort of logic that evades the politicized tandem of JB and BJ, isn't it? I think it completely evades BJ, it's almost worse than for JB because he knows, but he can't do it politically. Doesn't think it's in his interest to do it politically. He's more cynical. BLM Brandon, for all his claims of intellectual prowess, is just a useful idiot for the neo-Marxists. Jelly Belly is part of the vanguard class, if we can stick with the Soviet nomenclature, and he knows what he's doing. He just doesn't care what the impact is, except on him politically. And if you look at the polling on this in Chicago, a majority of the honkies in Chicago oppose the National Guard because Trump. It's really interesting, though, speaking of the polling, Mark Penn, Hillary Clinton's former pollster, was reported last week some of the polling on D.C. and sort of generally on Trump. But particularly D.C. and the crime issue and this gambit that Trump is on, taking the lead in trying to reduce violent domestic crime in major cities. Here's what Mark Penn finds.
I think he's now kind of taken his focus from what I would say is immigration first to then kind of tariffs all over in the middle to really kind of leading a national crackdown on crime. And I think you're seeing what I would call generally favorable response to it. Well, look, I think 54% said that they approve of the president's approach relative to using the National Guard in D.C. Look, I think it's interesting right now in general. Anytime I apply the word Trump, it is very hard to get above 50%. If I take his name off the policies, I get 60, 70, 75%, even 80% for, say, locking up criminal people who are here without documentation or here illegally. But when you put his name, the country is so polarized on Trump, and the Democrats will not concede a single inch of anything that the president does, that it's hard for him to get above 50. So when he gets 54% approving, I'm going, wow, that's like, a normal, what used to be 65, okay? Because that means I know that there are other people who approve of it, but won't approve of it because we put the name Trump in the questionnaire.
That sounds right. It's about 10% of the population as TDS, undiagnosed and untreated, but I can diagnose it from afar because how else would you describe it? I like the policy, so I don't like the man, I'm going to oppose the policy. What kind of sense does that make? None. But the more important, 54% approval rating in D.C. D.C.'s a district that went 95% for Kamala and every other Democrat for as far as anyone can remember. That's pretty good. Bill, Northside, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good. I'm just so disappointed that they're, like, mayor and the governor are turning this into a political issue rather than statespersonship, because we're seeing so much destruction, and they're just protecting their special groups. And I hope people wake up and realize that they're destructive, and that for their offices.
Thanks for the call, Bill. Tim in Woodstock.
Hi, good morning, Dan. I noticed that while the city erupted in violence over the weekend with 54 shootings, that Mayor Johnson found time to hop up on stage at, of all things, Gospel Fest and play his drums. And ironically, it was in the Pritzker Pavilion. I mean, you just can't make this kind of stuff up. But I really wanted to comment on the 7 shot in Bronzeville, the Bronzeville neighborhood over Labor Day weekend.
Mass shooting you're talking about.
I'm sorry, yes, the mass shooting. The article pointed out that I read that it's just around the corner from the Chicago Public Safety headquarters. And I just thought the timing, it's only like a couple blocks away. The timing just perfect as it coincided with Johnson's, what was it, the Protect Chicago, well, as I call it, the Protect Chicago from Lawbreakers initiative. And I just thought I'd take a quick peek at what does the Office of Public Safety actually do. So I went to their website, and there's a bunch of fluff on there about a bunch of nonsense about ensuring people's safety are safe and free to thrive in Chicago. But I did notice, and thought it kind of a public service to mention that I saw that they're going to be hosting an event called the Together We Are Better Public Safety Community Fair. And apparently the number of words, in the title are meant to hide the stupidity of the event. But and one of the things we're going to talk about is family-friendly activities. And I thought to myself that would have to be a field trip, I think, somewhere outside of Chicago. But I just thought Donald Trump should really wait till after September 27th to give the Together We Are Better Public Safety Community Fair a chance.
Yeah, give that a chance to turn everything around. Sure. Yeah, thanks for the call, Tim. George in Naperville.
Yes, Dan, it's good to know that we have a governor and mayor playing out their scary scenarios with their G.I. Joes in their sandbox. War room.
Thanks for the call, George. Lee in Hammond.
Yeah, I think JB and BJ are onto something here. I think what we ought to do is have a federal law making it illegal to sell firearms to any resident of the state of Illinois. And I'd also like them to pass some kind of a law to keep them out of my state, because they seem to be the majority of the violent criminals that we have around here in Lake County, Indiana. And I'd like to see them out of here.
Well, Lee, let's be fair. We've had a lot of I know many of them, including one John Cass, many productive people from Chicagoland who have fled to Northwest Indiana for friendlier and more affordable and more enjoyable and safer confines, haven't they? All right, coming up at 6:06. I really have to get to this. I hate to extend this. I don't want to belabor the point, but you don't often get Jelly Belly to wax philosophic while walking on the beach with an NBC5 reporter. So we'll do that at 6:06. It's now 6 a.m., AM 560 WIND.
Another Trump loss in court. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. This one's related to his deportation agenda, ruling he should not be allowed to do what he did in March, kicking alleged gang members out of the country.
A 3-judge panel of the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals agrees with lower courts that President Trump may not invoke the 1798 Alien Enemies Act to speed up deportations of suspected Venezuelan gang members. The act was used 3 times in American history before the president's invocation in March during the War of 1812 and World Wars I and II.
That's Fox's Chris Foster. Speaking of Venezuelan gang members, 11 of them were taken out in a military strike in the Caribbean.
The president says the boat was operated by Tren de Aragua, a designated terrorist organization operating in Venezuela and accused of violence and drug trafficking in the U.S.
And there's more where that came from. We have a lot of drugs pouring into our country, coming in for a long time.
President Trump says the strike occurred in international waters as the vessel was transporting illegal drugs and heading to the U.S.
That's Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House. Also in the Oval Office, the president said he will send the National Guard to Chicago, but he wouldn't say when, to deal with crime he says is out of control.
I have an obligation. When 20 people are killed over the last 2.5 weeks, and 75 are shot.
The president again touted that he's made Washington safe with a similar deployment and crackdown in D.C., but Chicago's mayor says they don't want the troops. Nor does Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, also a Democrat.
I refuse to play a reality game show with Donald Trump again. What I want are the federal dollars that have been promised to Illinois and Chicago for violence prevention programs that have proven to work.
In China
is
a massive military parade that has gone on in Beijing, Tiananmen Square. China's leader joined by world leaders, including those from Russia and North Korea. America's listening to
WIND Chicago.
Good morning. It's 62 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. President Trump is vowing to send the National Guard to the city of Chicago.
Well, we're going in. I didn't say when. We're going in. When you lose, look, I have an obligation. This isn't a political thing. I have an obligation.
Yesterday, the president also repeatedly said that Governor Pritzker should call him and that he would be happy to help fight crime.
I would love to have Governor Pritzker call me. I'd gain respect for him and say, we do have a problem, and we'd love you to send in the troops because you know what? The people, they have to be protected.
Governor Pritzker said he learned that federal agents and military vehicles began staging on Monday on nearby federal property, including Naval Station Great Lakes in North Chicago.
Unidentifiable agents in unmarked vehicles with masks are planning to raid Latino communities and say they're targeting violent criminals.
Mayor Johnson blamed the president for the city's ongoing gun violence.
Chicago will continue to have a violence problem as long as red states continue to have a gun problem. Shootings will continue as long as this presidential administration continues to put politics over people.
This all follows a very violent Labor Day weekend in Chicago, which saw at least 58 people shot, with 8 of them killed. And family and friends are mourning the death of a beloved homeless man on the southwest side. The community gathered yesterday to remember Pedro Toledo. Police say he was shot and killed Sunday near 17th and Walcott. Loved ones believe he was an innocent bystander who got caught in the crossfire. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Larry Elder always brings the facts.
And one of the things that the FBI has done is studied the sort of psychology and just the phenomenon that we live through uniquely in this country.
Uniquely in this country? If you compare the annual death rate from mass public shootings from January 2009 to December 2015, for example, death rate per million, number 1 was Norway. U.S. isn't until number 11.
The Larry Elder Show, weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer. Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
Is cremation an option you're considering for you or your loved one? At Catholic Cemeteries, we offer sacred, permanent places of rest where loved ones can be remembered, prayed for, and visited for generations. Too often, cremated remains are brought home, only to end up in closets, basements, or forgotten on shelves. Memorialization is forever. Honor their life. Preserve your legacy. Visit us today at CatholicCemeteryChicago.org to schedule a free consultation or call 708-236-5490.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ethos.com/term.
Your home equity could vanish almost overnight, stolen by scammers who forge a deed and transfer it out of your name. The FBI calls it house stealing, and the worst part is you may not know it until it's too late. Find out if you're already a victim now at HomeTitleLock.com. Use promo code RADIO for a 30-day free trial, a title scan, and access to a title specialist, a $250 value. Go to HomeTitleLock.com now. Promo code RADIO.
Chicago businesses, you can't afford to be down. You don't have time to wait for IT support. You need one company that does IT well and does it right. Meet Access One, your local Chicagoland IT experts. Access One has been powering Chicago businesses with secure, reliable IT solutions for over 30 years from our headquarters right here in the West Loop. Whether it's VoIP phones, dedicated internet, managed cybersecurity, cloud backups, or 24/7 support, Access One is here for you. Chicago-owned, Chicago-run, and serving thousands of companies from Naperville to the North Shore. Access One is the trusted IT partner for law firms, clinics, tech startups to manufacturers. Rated top 5% in customer satisfaction and a Better Business Bureau A+ rated business. Access One is your one vendor for everything tech. Let's talk. Call 800-804-8333 or visit accessoneInc.com. That's accessoneInc.com. Tech made personal, locally.
At AlmostFreeTeeth.com, they're dedicated to making smiles great again. If you have medical PPO insurance, find out how you could save 90% off on average to get a beautiful dental implant-supported smile. Check if you qualify right now at AlmostFreeTeeth.com.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 14 minutes. Outbound is 13 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Byrne Interchange, about 11 minutes. Outbound is about 9 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 15 minutes. Outbound, 15 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 19 minutes. Outbound is about 15 minutes. On the Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to the Byrne Interchange, 13 minutes. Outbound is about 11 minutes. Traffic is a service of Fox Valley Coins. Bring your gold or silver in store today. Each item is priced right in front of you. The coins never leave your sight. Receive cash or check right on the spot. FoxValleyCoins.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a quick check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today, expect increasing cloudiness with temperatures reaching a high of 74. It won't be as warm, becoming breezy in the afternoon with a couple of showers and a possible thunderstorm. Gusty winds may accompany any downpour. Tonight, anticipate a few showers early on, then clearing up. Temperatures dropping to a low of 49, cooler than earlier. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering smart security systems to homes and businesses. Call Goldilocks at 708-889-5600.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. I want to go back to something Pritzker said yesterday that we played in the first hour, but because it just bears imprinting upon your consciousness and sharing, because that's caring. Jelly Belly's characterization of the operations he anticipates federal law enforcement will be conducting when additional resources are deployed here. He mentioned this over the weekend in Face the Nation, where not together, but he and DHS Secretary Kristi Noem went back and forth on the surging of ICE resources in Chicago for the purposes of removing people here illegally who pose public safety threats primarily. Yeah, right. Still a problem. Massive one. All you have to do is read the police blotter over at CWB Chicago on a daily basis to see that. So the anticipation of this surge in resources, both ICE and National Guard, and how he characterizes ICE in particular, the timing of it and the way they conduct their business.
Second, unidentifiable agents in unmarked vehicles with masks are planning to raid Latino communities and say they're targeting violent criminals. As we saw in Los Angeles, a very, very small percentage of the individuals they will target will be violent criminals. Instead, you're likely to see videos of them hauling away mothers and fathers, traveling to work or picking up their kids from school. Sometimes they will detain, handcuff, and haul away children. They are law-abiding individuals who pay taxes and contribute to the communities, who feel safe going to work and attending mandatory immigration check-ins. In other words, they're following the law. We have reason to believe that Stephen Miller chose the month of September to come to Chicago because of celebrations around Mexican Independence Day that happen here every year. It breaks my heart to report that we have been told ICE will try and disrupt community picnics and peaceful parades. Let's be clear, the terror and cruelty is the point, not the safety of anyone living here.
The point of DHS, the point of ICE, the point of federal law enforcement is to inflict terror and cruelty on the residents of Chicago and everywhere else they go. That is unmistakably what he said. You know, normally that would draw a rebuke from more people than just me. We'll see. Normally that would draw a rebuke. That would you would ask for a clarification. You know, like when you call Trump and congressional Republicans Nazis, as Jelly Belly did during his most recent State of the State address. One of the worst governed states in American history, and in the bottom handful in almost every quality of life metric. And does he use the State of the State to offer a vision for the course he thinks Illinois should follow? No. Instead, he uses it to call people Nazis. Yeah. The point is terror and cruelty. Well, he has given into unreason, as is his entire party, particularly in Illinois. And so they're ready for unkindness. And the unkindness comes in the form of the consequences of their sanctuary state, sanctuary city policies, the consequences of no cash bail, the consequences of their non-prosecution, defund, non-prosecution, decarceration ideology. The thousands of Chicagoans and Illinoisans who have been victims of preventable crimes. That's real cruelty and terror. But you have to project that onto your opponents when the misdirections and the excuses and the illogic run their course. What are you left with? They're Nazis. They're the terrorists. They're the cruel people. Why don't you tell that to Joe Abraham, daughter of Katie Abraham, now deceased at the hands of a person in this country and in this country illegally, and who crashed into Katie and her friend in Champaign while they were visiting their college friends, killing them both. Is that cruel? Was that terror-inducing? I suspect it was for the families of the victims. Don't you, Governor? It's really tiresome that he gets away with such incendiary, unreasonable rhetoric, and we spend all our time, because of the D.C. press corps blowtorches, pouring over the rhetorical excesses of President Trump. He's the bad guy because I don't like his personality, even though I sort of like some of his policies. My Biden soda voce there. Hope you liked it. But Pritzker's not the bad guy. BJ and JB, they're not the bad guys. Well, maybe I'll say BJ is bad guy because he makes such a spectacle of himself. He's so ham-handed about it. Oh, Jelly Belly is just as ham-handed about it, and I do mean ham-handed. But for some reason, because he's buttoned down and wealthy and has academic credentials, but not wisdom, and really not very much evidence of intelligence, other than being able to read prepared remarks, because he does that. Somehow he gets away with it within a certain swath of the electorate here. I don't know why. The statement he just made there that you heard is as ridiculous as anything Brandon Johnson has said. As disgraceful, as lowbrow, as mindless, as unfair as anything Brandon Johnson has said. By the way, other cities, since we're talking about big city America now, other cities that have endemic violent crime problems in the area, in the Midwest, I mean, they're taking a different approach. And by the way, it's nice to hear from the FOP, or the Milwaukee Police Union in this case. Where's the FOP in Chicago weighing in on this? Is John Canzara a shrinking violet all of a sudden? Well, somebody who is not a shrinking violet is Alex Ayala, who is the head of the Milwaukee Police Union. He had this to say about the prospect of the National Guard coming to Milwaukee. It's not something Trump's mentioned. It's something Alex Ayala is mentioning, and he's going to ask Trump to do it.
At this point, though, you would welcome National Guard here in Milwaukee?
I would. Otherwise, how do we control incidents like they happened last weekend or a few months ago when they happened at downtown in the Code Red area in the business district? I mean, you have all these incidents that are out of control. We don't have the staffing for it. I'm sure that the National Guard would do a great job in helping us out.
What would they do, ideally?
You can put up some security checkpoints. You have them walking around. They're visible. I mean, you see a man in uniform and a woman in uniform, you're going to probably not do something, right? So I think that would add to, visibility, while meanwhile the police officers can handle the actual crime prevention and making arrests. They're there for maybe crowd control. I mean, you needed that crowd control this weekend, as we saw in all those videos.
This is a highly political topic and a highly political discussion as we sit here today. You're fine wading into that?
I am fine wading into that, because when are we going to have another press conference in the middle of the night to say one of my officers got shot or killed in the line of duty?
Alex Ayala, maybe we could get him to move to Chicago. Provide some leadership, rhetorical and otherwise. The National Guard is no panacea, and there's no indication or understanding that the National Guard would do anything other than provide some temporary respite for police and for crime-weary residents of Chicago. But that's a start. And it proves up that it can be done if you apply resources, law enforcement resources, appropriately, as we're seeing in D.C. That's sort of the point. If you prove up what is possible, that this doesn't just have to be something we accept, then maybe you get more people demand to do what is possible on a go-forward basis, you see. I want to go back to something, too. I mean, I mentioned it yesterday, but we didn't get into what he actually wrote. Bob Milan, who's a former assistant U.S. attorney and was a first assistant Cook County State's attorney, very well-respected prosecutor, almost anybody you talk to, at least that I know. This 2015 op-ed that he wrote in the Chicago Tribune, which is entitled, "Call in the National Guard to Protect Chicago South and West Sides." Mention again, and I'll keep repeating it. I know they're governors, but Hochul calls in the National Guard to patrol the subways in New York City when that spiraled. And Jelly Belly did it for the DNC, including, quote unquote, disappearing the homeless to make sure the city presented well for the national attention. But somehow when Trump suggested it is the end of our democracy. Okay. Bob Milan writing in June of 2015. There's a reason Spike Lee's new movie title, Chirac, makes us uncomfortable. We would love to dismiss outright the comparison of our beloved city with Iraq, denouncing it as outrageous, sensational, and offensive. But we all know that it's not. The comparison speaks to the terrible truth that the pervasive violence we associate with the Middle East is raging here in our Chicago neighborhoods and clearly holds the upper hand to our political rhetoric and status quo law enforcement measures. That's 10 years ago. Has anything changed? Has it? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Bob Milan, is he a racist too? Is he an authoritarian? He wants to head up some goon squad to rip mothers from their families and prison children and all of the other hysterical, irresponsible things that Jelly Belly Pritzker promulgates. No, here's what Bob Milan wrote, and here's what every decent person believes. Because the overwhelming majority of the shootings take place in the heavily impoverished African-American South and West sides, no one seems to really care. We have allowed the horrific violence to become background noise in our daily lives, and this is unacceptable. So excuses be gone. It's time to admit that rhetoric and status quo law enforcement measures aren't working. Now's the time for our leaders to take action that demonstrates that they really care. Call in the National Guard to patrol the South and West sides along with the Chicago Police Department, Cook County Sheriff's Police, and Illinois State Police. Coordinate the largest show of force in the history of this fine city. Take back control of the South and West sides from the gangs. Eliminate open-air drug markets. Call for a large volunteer group that can assist law enforcement with tasks that will not put the volunteers' lives at risk, but allow for more police to be on the streets. And go for and so on. You get the gist of what Milan laid down there. It's 10 years ago. Has anything changed for the better? 3 different mayors in those 10 years. 2 governors. And what are the results? Mark in Oak Lawn.
Hey, Dave. Thanks for taking my call. I was talking to a friend of mine last night. He was saying, remember when the lottery came into Illinois?
Mark, sorry, your line is cutting out on us there. It's sort of intermittent, so maybe try and call back. Corey, Woodlawn.
Hey, thanks for taking the call, Dan. My problem is that everyone I know has been touched by violence in a most horrific way. Kids I grew up with, not even here. And in the meantime, the one thing that has been very consistent is we've had black representation. They've been gaslighting our communities for decades, convincing us to vote Democrat. Jimmy Pritzker said it best, just give me the money. Every time someone in this city or in this state is arrested, they're arrested by federal agents. We need the federal government because something is definitely wrong with the police force and the leadership in this city. Thanks.
Thanks for the call, Corey. Lewis, Southside.
Good morning, Dan. Did you know that there's a shortage of police officers in the whole state of Illinois? And that they have a bill, it's called House Bill 3751.
Hey, Lewis, I'm sorry. Maybe that's our alliance. You're cutting out too, like Mark from Oaklawn was. Sorry about that. Try back. I don't know. Technical difficulties. Bob and Carol Stream. Try this line.
Good morning, Dan. I just wanted to ask you a question about the legalities and such. The Potemkin Village that Pritzker created in Chicago for the DNC or for his abortion trucks and all the fine stuff that supposedly freedom of speech and all that. I'm wondering about the legalities between that, what Biden did with, 100 million guys you stuck in a parking lot in D.C. for a year. I'm exaggerating, of course, and what our president is going to be doing now. Is it going to be effective, or is it just going to be maybe a show? What was legality? What do you think? I mean,
well, thanks for the call, Bob. I mean, I think there's so it's definitely a show of force, but that's part of the point. That's the same thing Bob Milan was writing a decade ago. Send a message through a surge of resources, a show of force, that what's going on, particularly in those South and West Side neighborhoods, is not going to be tolerated. that we are not desensitized to it, that it is not something we just accept as part of big city living. That sends a message. And then if you prove up, like I said, you prove up that bringing 1,500, 2,000 more people to the task of peacekeeping, well, then I suppose we should maybe make that permanent by backfilling the vacancies we have in the police department down. I think that somewhere between that number, 1,500 and 2,000, according to John Garrido and others. Maybe we should do that permanent. The one thing we know, more policing means less crime. So surge the necessary resources, redeploy, do what you have to do to fulfill your primary responsibility. Every political leader's primary responsibility, the provision of public safety for their law-abiding constituents. Right? Whole of government approach, that's a phrase the left likes to use. Okay, well, how about here? You know, what Trump is doing is giving us a moment, because we've been talking about this, as many people have mentioned, for, generations, decades and decades and decades. So here again is another moment where you've got people's attention and people are talking and thinking and debating. It's a moment to chart a different course than, as Bob Mylan wrote about a decade ago, the status quo law enforcement measures that aren't working. Try again. Lewis outside.
Hello?
There we go.
Hey, Dan, let me try this again. Did you know that there's a shortage of police officers in the state of Illinois? Hello?
Yeah, okay. Go ahead.
Okay. And they have a bill. It's called House Bill 3751. And what it says is that non-citizens with a work permit can become police officers. Okay. Now, where this shortage came from was this criminal justice reform. And that bill is called House Bill 3653. And that's where that the Safety Act came from, and that's where police reform that they're doing out there, and this defunding the police is coming from. And they're doing this on purpose. And that in Chicago, they were budgeted for 14,100 officers in 2023 and in 2024. And in 2023, they only had 12,600 officers. Mm-hmm. And in 2024, they had about 11,600 officers. And in 2025, they budgeted for 13,500. And they didn't fill 450 positions, so it came out to 13,100. But they have about 11,300, and so they are under strength, and they know this, And so what they need to do is we need to put pressure on them to hire more police officers, and this thing with the National Guard, I don't think that it's going to work, and that what he needs to do is he needs to just stay just like he's doing, exposing it. By exposing the shortage, and the crime, he's winning. But if he brings those National Guards in, I think what's going to happen is that they're going to turn on him in the midterms, and we're going to lose that 2028 election for president. Because
thanks for the call, Lewis. Yeah, I get it. I'm not sure I agree. Again, the National Guard is not in any way part of the permanent landscape when it comes to domestic policing. And nobody is suggesting anything other than that. It is a surge in resources. It would be a show of force for the purpose of demonstrating to the residents of D.C. or Chicago or Baltimore or Milwaukee that it can be done. If your civilian political leadership was interested, they could bring the resources to bear to make your neighborhoods markedly safer than they currently are. It's doable, not beyond our ability. But I'll tell you what, Jelly Belly on a little lakefront walk with Mary Ann Ahern, another tell, almost as good a tell as Brandon Johnson when he was offered a hypothetical 5,000 police funded by the federal government on Morning Joe and rejected that offer 5 times. No, you have to understand, we have to go to root causes. It's Nixon's fault. It's red state's fault. We have to wrap around services, blah, blah, blah. Do we want 5,000 more cops for free? No, I don't, is what he said, basically. Well, Jelly Belly had a similar tell on this romantic stroll with Mary Ann Ahern. I'm just impressed that he's able to stroll. That Ozempic is really working. He looks great.
You're going to hear people, especially this past weekend, 54 shot, 7 dead. Yeah. They're going to say the city's not safe. Would you ask your friends to ride the L after midnight or after, 9 o'clock at night even to come down to the city from O'Hare?
Look, big cities have crime. There's no doubt about it. But let's just pay attention to what President Trump is doing targeting Chicago. He's overlooking red states that have much higher crime rates.
Big cities have crime. That's his response to the body count. Indifferent. And doing these tortured compare and contrast to red states, or even, frankly, pointing to any other jurisdiction. The comparisons do not reflect well on Chicago, first of all, to red states or big blue cities, bigger blue cities. It's all misdirection because he doesn't give a rat's behind about it. It's just big city living. By the way, that walk continued. And Mary Ann Ahern looked back over her life, and she saw that for every memory, there were 2 sets of footprints in the sand, one belonging to her and the other belonging to the governor. As she looked more closely, she saw that for the most difficult and painful memories in her life, there was only one set of footprints. Turning to Lord Pritzker, she said, "Lord Pritzker, when I needed you the most, why did you leave me?" Lord Pritzker said back, "Those were the moments I carried you." Like he's carrying all of us in Chicago. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 62 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. President Trump says he's going to the Supreme Court after a lower court ruled most of his tariffs are illegal. Trump says we're going to ask for an expedited hearing with the high court today.
Without the tariffs, this country is in serious, serious trouble. We've taken in almost $17 trillion of investment is coming in. Most of it is coming because of tariffs. A liberal court gave us a very shocking ruling, and that ruling is basically saying that the trillions of dollars that are pouring into our country, putting us in a position like no country is anywhere in the world, that they'd like to see us that taken away.
Now, it needs to be noted, it's not just liberals that disagree with his tariffs. There are actually folks on both sides of the aisle that strongly disagree with the president and his administration on tariffs and continue to believe that tariffs are nothing more than taxes passed on to the consumer. The president again insisted that tariffs are needed to create a level playing field with U.S. trading partners. And Vice President Vance will be in Minneapolis today. The visit follows last week's shooting at Annunciation Catholic School. He'll be joined by the Second Lady as they hold a series of private meetings to convey condolences to the families of those affected by the tragedy. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Join John Anthony, host of Black and Right, for a cruise on Lake Michigan, Saturday, September 6th. Come aboard the luxury yacht Free Spirit for a fun afternoon with fellow AM 560 listeners. Enjoy great food and beverages and be a part of the live broadcast of Black and Right with John Anthony. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/cruise. That's 560theanswer.com/cruise.
At Air Right Heating and Cooling, we know there's never a good time to be without AC in Chicagoland. If you can't remember the last time your AC was inspected, don't wait for it to fail during a heat wave. Get peace of mind by having Air Right take a look. Plus, AM 560 listeners get $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at air-right.com. That's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling. Doing it right since 1959.
Is cremation an option you're considering for you or your loved one? At Catholic Cemeteries, we offer sacred, permanent places of rest where loved ones can be remembered, prayed for, and visited for generations. Too often, cremated remains are brought home, only to end up in closets, basements, or forgotten on shelves. Memorialization is forever. Honor their life. Preserve your legacy. Visit us today at CatholicCemeteryChicago.org to schedule a free consultation or call 708-236-5490.
Wow. At the time of this being written, both gold and silver are up some 40%. That's 40% in just 1 year. In fact, this past year, gold has broken all-time historic records by hundreds of dollars an ounce. And unlike all other financial instruments used today, that historic record goes back thousands of years. In times like these, prices have never been better on most collector and gold coins. Fox Valley Coins in Naperville is trying to keep up with demand. So they're paying the most ever on not only most gold coins and bars, but also those old coin and paper money collections. They're especially looking for the scarcer dates and higher grade coins. Take advantage of the record high market price and our huge demand now, whether you're buying or selling, or just want to find out their worth. Fox Valley Coins is the place to go. Fox Valley Coins is on Route 59, just 1 light north of I-88 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. Family-owned, integrity since 1981.
Are you turning 65 and thinking about Medicare? Or are you over 65 and haven't enrolled yet because you still have coverage at work? Either way, Medicare done correctly will be the best health insurance you will ever have. Imagine having an annual deductible of only $257. There are only two good things about aging, wisdom and Medicare. But to navigate the Medicare maze properly, you need a mentor. Best part? My guidance costs you nothing. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Medicare, then you need a local expert on your side. Your own health insurance mentor. C. Stephen Tucker from healthinsurancementors.com is someone I know and trust. He's a 30-year licensed broker who's been educating our listeners for more than a decade. Steve, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit healthinsurancementors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551. That's 630-674-1551.
If you want thick, healthy, gorgeous hair, then you need Hair Volume from New Nordic. Available online at Amazon and newnordicusa.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 14 minutes. Outbound is 13 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, about 11 minutes. Outbound is about 9 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 15 minutes. Outbound, 15 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 19 minutes. Outbound is about 15 minutes. On the Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to the Burn Interchange, 13 minutes. Outbound is about 11 minutes. This report is sponsored by Blindster.com. Need new blinds? At Blindster.com, they offer guaranteed low prices, guaranteed satisfaction, free samples, and free shipping. At Blindster, they take the fear out of ordering custom blinds, shades, and shutters so you can do it yourself and save big. Blindster.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today we'll see more clouds and cooler temperatures with breezy conditions in the afternoon. Expect a few showers and a thunderstorm later, possibly accompanied by gusty winds. The high will reach 74. Tonight there will be some showers early on, but skies will clear and temperatures will drop to 49 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. CDC and the public health bureaucracies in D.C. and this infighting that apparently has been going on, and also the Costanza approach that even Trump administration officials are taking. Suzanne Monterez, the CDC director who lasted all of a month, she initially said she would resign. Then she said she's not resigning, so Trump fired her. The reporting out was she's gone, and she's refused to leave. It's like that Lisa Cook on the Fed board. You serve at the pleasure of the president, and in Lisa Cook's case, compelling evidence of mortgage fraud is, I think, cause for termination. You're not required to wait for a jury verdict when it comes to employment. But anyway, so at the center of it, of course, is RFK Jr., because he's supposedly so anti-vax, and you have former CDC directors going after him and other CDC employees resigning to much fanfare. It's the clapping and the weeping. You're so brave. The monkeypox guy. Have you seen this guy? I mean, at least what he does in his private time. Dr. Dimitri Daskalakis, he's a bondage enthusiast and an LGBTQIA2S++++++++ champion. The pictures, boy, woo. Of course, this is a holdover from the Biden years. They may have gotten Sam Britton for his kleptocracy, but kleptomania, part of the kleptocracy. He's literally a kleptomaniac, stealing other people's luggage at airports. Bizarre. Daskalakis, also bizarre, but for different reasons. He had this to say, too, about monkeypox. Are we allowed to say that? I know that was racist for a time. That's what it's called. Mpox, that it became, for the purposes of being sensitive. To whom? Monkeys? The Mpox vaccine, he was the point person on that as the director of the National Center for Immunization and Respiratory Diseases. And when that was a concern, concurrent with COVID, he had this to say.
I work in HIV normally, and I'll tell you that, I always say that I've never made an HIV diagnosis in someone that hasn't somehow related to stigma. I think Mpox is the same. So really, stigma tends to be a barrier to testing, a barrier to vaccination. And so, really addressing stigma intentionally and making sure that we get the word out in a way that supports people's joy as opposed to, calling them risky. So I think, one of the things to think about is that, one person's idea of risk is another person's idea of a great festival or Friday night, for that matter. So we have to sort of embrace that with joy and make sure that folks know how to keep themselves safe.
Yeah, we have to embrace. I mean, there's a picture of him, all bare-chested and chained up with the Chiron puppy play. So you may think whatever's going on there is risky, but that's his joy, and so we have to embrace people's joy, not stigmatize it. Is that a medical opinion, doctor, or political one? One man's risky behavior is another man's joy. Uh-huh. Yeah. He had hats with pentagrams, room-sized pentagrams too. Oh boy. He wrote, I'm writing to formally resign my post. He referenced the recent some of the reasons. Policies designed to hurt rather than to improve the public's health. The recent change in the adult and children's immunization schedule threatened the lives of the youngest Americans and pregnant people. Pregnant people? Men can get pregnant, Dan. Okay. Some examples include the announcement of the change in the COVID-19 recommendations for children and pregnant people, the firing of scientists from ACIP by ex post in an op-ed rather than direct communication from these valuable experts, and so on and so forth. He goes on to say, my grandfather, who I'm named after, stood up to fascist forces in Greece and lost his life doing so. I'm resigning to make him and his legacy proud. I'm resigning because of the cowardice of a leader that cannot admit that his and his minions' words over decades created an environment where violence can occur. I reject his and his colleagues' thoughts and prayers and advise they direct those to people that they have not actively harmed. But he said he also said his resignation wasn't political. No, of course not. Why would anyone think that? Well, I mean, so between this spectacle and the Monterez Costanza routine and other former CDC directors publicly calling out RFK, making America less safe, anti-vax, and so on and so forth, RFK Jr. has responded. I promised 4 things: to end the COVID vaccine mandates, to keep vaccines available to people who want them, especially the vulnerable, to demand placebo-controlled trials from companies, to end the emergency. In a series of FDA actions last week, we accomplished all 4 goals. The emergency use authorizations for COVID vaccines, once used to justify broad mandates in the general public during the Biden administration, are now rescinded. FDA has now issued marketing authorization for those at higher risk, Moderna 6+ months, Pfizer 5+, Novavax 12+. These vaccines are available for all patients who choose them after consulting with their doctors. The American people demanded science, safety, and common sense, and the framework delivers that. This in conjunction with Marty McCarry, friend of the show. He also wrote an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal, RFK Jr. did, we're restoring public trust in the CDC. The dysfunction at CDC, mission creep in particular, produced irrational policy during COVID. Cloth masks on toddlers, arbitrary 6-foot distancing, boosters for healthy children, prolonged school closings, economy-crushing lockdowns, the suppression of low-cost therapeutics. Yeah. He writes of the CDC, over the years, it mutated from a readiness and response force into a sprawling bureaucracy dabbling in nearly every health issue, often duplicating work already done by other agencies at HHS. Today, only half of the CDC's budget supports its infectious disease mission. Fewer than 1 in 10 employees are epidemiologists. That drift explains much of the agency's disastrous pandemic response. So, by contrast, we have shown what a focused CDC can achieve, writes RFK Jr. When measles flared this year in Texas, we brought vaccines, therapeutics, and resources to the epicenter. The outbreak ended quickly, proving that CDC can act swiftly with precision when guided by science and freed from ideology. That response was neither pro-vax or anti-vax. It wasn't distracted by equity outcomes or politically correct language like pregnant people. It was effective, and effectiveness, not politics, will be the watchword of our leadership. And he talks about his sort of the hallmarks of his approach for CDC. detect and detect infectious diseases through enhanced respiratory disease surveillance and a biothreat radar. So protect from threats, build infrastructure, modernize systems, enhance scientific rigor, empower states and communities, so on and so forth. It doesn't, I mean, RFK Jr., to my mind, is turning out not to be the anti-vax ideologue or sort of homeopathic oriented person, like sort of dismissing Western medicine and so forth, that some feared him to be. Seems like it so far been pretty practical. And also, importantly, he has been communicating at every stage of the process, and including feeling very comfortable wading into these discussions and putting a marker down, which is what leadership looks like, frankly. By the way, this out yesterday, considering all this business about vaccines and they're making public health worse and endangering children and pregnant people, so said Deskalakis. Was his handle? Is this X handle Gay Satan? I think so. Interesting. Anyway, concerning what he was saying, this from our friend Alex Berenson over at his Substack. The COVID spike protein produced by mRNA jabs can activate reservoirs of HIV in infected people, according to new research. It's unclear if the finding represents any real-world risk for people with HIV, but Dr. Dmitry Daskalakis, you may want to take note here, since you're such the watchdog for HIV and the LGBTQIA2S+++ community. It's unclear if the finding represents any real-world risk, but some earlier little-known papers have shown rising HIV viral loads or T-cell declines in people after the shots. The point that it made here by this preprint, the preprint of this research that's described by Berenson, it provides yet more evidence of how mRNA has caused powerful immune system changes with effects scientists still don't fully understand. And it backs earlier little-noticed research showing some people with HIV who received mRNA shots had increases in their HIV viral loads, particularly after booster. Others saw decreases in CD4 T cells, crucial in fighting infections. So, there's still the need to do the science and incorporate the science and debate the science and then do some more science. And it seems like this administration and the people it has in key public health posts, in addition to the people whose research work was ignored, watchdog work was ignored during the previous administration, are being paid attention to, and that actually is to the benefit of Americans' health and public health in general.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-330-8323 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-330-8323. That's 800-330-8323. What do you have to lose? Call 800-330-8323. Again, 800-330-8323.
A large retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving MyPillow with a ton of extra MyPillows. But you know what? That's their loss and your gain. MyPillow is offering the Classic Collection for wholesale prices. Only $19.98 for a standard MyPillow. But it gets even better. For a limited time, they're going to offer the entire Classic Collection at wholesale prices. Get queen-size MyPillows for just $24.98. Upgrade to king-size for only $29.98. Get the body pillows for $39.98. And the multi-use MyPillows for only $12.98. So go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 to take advantage of wholesale pricing and receive $100 in free digital gifts when your order is $75 or more. That's right. Get the standard MyPillow for only $19.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. That number again is 800-489-0201. Promo code LIBERTY.
It was a typical day. You were doing the usual, but then you met up with a friend at Weinstock Market and Lounge in Woodstock. Wow! The small-town charm and turn-of-the-century building set the tone for a classic outing. Their charcuterie pleased your palate like you never imagined. The Chicago beef sandwich made your taste buds dance. And the hand-selected wines from small vineyards around the world, so perfect. All paired with amazing live music. Weinstock Market and Lounge changes your day from ordinary to extraordinary.
Weinstock Market and Lounge, voted McHenry County's best wine shop and best of Fox 2 years in a row. Open Tuesday through Saturday, 3 p.m. till 11 p.m. Live music on weekends. Open mic nights on Tuesdays. Enjoy the fresh baked pizza and Chicago beef sandwiches. Wine favorites from Italy, New Zealand, France, and California. And a full menu of handcrafted cocktails. Plan a trip to Weinstock Market and Lounge on the square in downtown Woodstock. Mention AM 560 and receive 10% off any purchase.
They took everything. Our equipment, our supplies, it's all gone.
It's devastating. Every order is going to be delayed for months, and our customers are going to find someone else.
I don't know if we'll ever recover from this. We're already getting calls from clients checking on their orders.
Who knows how long it will take to get back on our feet? What were we thinking not upgrading our security?
Don't let a break-in devastate your business. Protect yourself with Goldilocks. They'll create a customized security solution for you. From commercial doors with keyless entry to 24/7 alarm monitoring, they have you covered. Learn more at GoldilocksInc.com and have a security technician conduct an on-site assessment of your business. Plus, AM 560 listeners get their first 3 months of monitoring free with a new install. Call Goldilocks now. 708-889-5600. That's 708-889-5600. Goldilocks, Chicagoland's premier locksmith doors and security systems company since 1981.
Exclusive interviews, bold commentary, and behind-the-scenes insights into stories that the mainstream media won't cover. It's the Unshaken and Unafraid podcast with Joe Pags on the Salem Podcast Network.
You guys know better than anybody that you just can't compete on an equal level playing field with somebody of the opposite gender. It's just not fair. That's a fact.
Subscribe today on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com. AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 7:07, Adam Coleman joins us, author of The Children We Left Behind. He argues that, no, we don't need illegal immigrants to do jobs Americans won't. We'll hear him out at 7:07. It is now 7 o'clock on AM 560, WIND, Chicago.
It's only a matter of time. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, for President Trump to deploy the National Guard to Chicago.
Well, we're going in. I didn't say when. We're going in. When you lose, look, I have an obligation. This isn't a political thing.
The president says crime's out of control there, and he'll solve it like he did in Washington with the crackdown, including troops and federal agents.
He is insulting the people of Chicago by calling our home a hellhole.
Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, Democrat, says troops doing law enforcement would be illegal and aren't needed.
Murders are down by almost 50% in the last 4 years. Shootings are down 57%. Robberies down 34%.
A federal judge judge's ruling yesterday claimed the Trump National Guard deployment to Los Angeles was unlawful back in June, though the Trump administration will appeal that, claiming troops were only protecting federal agents and buildings during protests over illegal immigration raids. In another legal challenge, a federal appeals court ruled the president cannot invoke the 18th Century Alien Enemies Act to justify fast-track deportations like in March when he kicked alleged Venezuelan gang members out of the country.
The 2-1 ruling finds the administration has not proven an invasion or predatory incursion against the U.S. at the direction of the Venezuelan government. It bars deportations from the 3 states overseen by the court, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Texas, where suspected Tren de Aragua gang members are being held. It can be appealed to the full Fifth Circuit or directly to the U.S. Supreme Court.
Fox's Chris Foster. 11 Venezuelan gang members were killed in a U.S. military strike on a boat the president says was full of illegal drugs. Secretary of State Marco Rubio.
The president is going to be on offense against drug cartels and drug trafficking in the United States.
The U.S. has recently deployed ships not far from Venezuela to combat drug trafficking. In China, a massive show of military force at a parade marking the end of World War II 80 years ago. China's president, joined by other world leaders, including Russia's Vladimir Putin and North Korea's Kim Jong-un. Those two also held talks as Kim keeps helping Putin wage war in Ukraine. America's listening to Fox.
Good morning. It's 62 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. President Trump says there will be a federal intervention in Chicago. Trump was asked about the possibility of the National Guard going to Chicago to fight crime and responded, "We're going in." But before adding, "I didn't say when."
I would love to have Governor Pritzker call me. I'd gain respect for him and say, we do have a problem, and we'd love you to send in the troops because you know what? The people, they have to be protected.
The president touted the success of his crime crackdown in Washington, D.C.
It's now a safe zone. We have no crime. It's in such great shape. You can go and actually walk with your children, your wife, your husband. You can walk right down the middle of the street. You're not going to be shot.
Trump's comments follow a violent Labor Day weekend in Chicago, which saw at least 58 people shot, 8 of them fatally. A federal appeals court is upholding an Illinois ban on concealed firearms on public transit. The appellate court's decision reversed a ruling by the downstate federal judge who said that the law was unconstitutional. Illinois' Firearm Concealed Carry Act allows those with a proper permit to conceal carry firearms in public places but not on public transit. 4 concealed carry permit holders filed a lawsuit in 2022 claiming the law prevented them from carrying weapons for self-defense while traveling on Chicago Transit Authority and Metra. News is the service of Air Right Heating and Cooling, offering AM 560 listeners $56 off of any service, including inspections. Don't wait for a heat wave for that old air conditioner to break down. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Join John Anthony, host of Black and Right, for a cruise on Lake Michigan, Saturday, September 6th. Come aboard the luxury yacht Free Spirit for a fun afternoon with fellow AM 560 listeners. Enjoy great food and beverages and be a part of the live broadcast of Black and Right with John Anthony. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/cruise. That's 560theanswer.com/cruise.
Virago is fending off viruses and making America healthy again.
Hi, my name is Dr. Michael Huber. I'm one of the co-founders of Virago, the immune enhancement cocktail. Here are some of the testimonials of Virago users.
Hello, my name is Jim Thompson. I started taking Virago about 1.5 years ago. I was diagnosed with a heart condition, and in fact, I was at the Cleveland Clinic applying for one of their trials. The bad news is that I was not accepted for the trial. The good news is that my heart was healthier than they wanted, and I believe that's a result of taking Virago. I can also attest that I have not had the flu or COVID since I started taking Virago. I can definitely attest to my satisfaction with staying healthy by taking Virago every day.
Boost your immune system with Virago. Order your bottle today. Visit myvirago.com. That's myvirago.com.
And use promo code IMMUNE to get 30% off.
That's myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. Virago and Maha, making America healthy again.
What do
don't we do one of those one-day bathroom remodels?
Well, because I don't want a generic bathroom that looks like it belongs at a campsite.
Fair. I'd love something that fits us. A bigger shower, safety grab bars, better lighting, heated floors.
Let's go with Forever Remodeling. There's no templates. Every design is unique and exactly what we want.
At Forever Remodeling, no two bathrooms are ever the same. Visit Forever Remodeling today at foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4everremodeling.com. And tell them AM 560 sent you.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ethos.com/term.
Your home equity could vanish almost overnight, stolen by scammers who forge a deed and transfer it out of your name. The FBI calls it house stealing, and the worst part is you may not know it until it's too late. Find out if you're already a victim now at HomeTitleLock.com. Use promo code RADIO for a 30-day free trial, a title scan, and access to a title specialist, a $250 value. Go to HomeTitleLock.com now. Promo code RADIO.
This is Carol Platt-Liebau for Townhall.com. Ronald Reagan, one of our greatest presidents, once quipped that the closest thing to eternal life on Earth is a government program. But when it comes to government employment, the Trump administration is turning that truism on its head. Thanks to DOGE, the U.S. government will have 300,000 fewer people working for it. That's the largest single-year cut in civilian federal employment since World War II. The total reduction amounts to a 12.5% decrease in the federal workforce. Such a rapid cut is virtually unheard of. 20% of the departing bureaucrats were fired, but the rest, 80%, took advantage of buyouts or other programs that pay them while they look for another job. For once, our government has shrunk in real terms. All Americans save a little tax money and are just a little more free as a result. I'm Carol Platt-Liebau.
From the Team Hawkburg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 18 minutes. Outbound, 15 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 24 minutes. Outbound, 14 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 51 minutes. Outbound, 24 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 32 minutes. Outbound is about 20 minutes. On the Dan Bryan inbound from 95th to the Burn Interchange, 19 minutes. Outbound, 11 minutes. Traffic is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today we'll see more clouds and cooler temperatures with breezy conditions in the afternoon. Expect a few showers and a thunderstorm later, possibly accompanied by gusty winds. The high will reach 74. Tonight there will be some showers early on, but skies will clear and temperatures will drop to 49 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. You know how the argument goes. Without people breaking into the, well, not really breaking in, being invited in, because that's what open borders means, and that's what happened in the last administration. Without people being invited in and invited to stay and underwritten by taxpayers, we wouldn't have the personnel that we need to do the jobs that Americans won't do. That's why we have to turn a blind eye to people in this country illegally if they're, as many would say, not all, but many would say, if their only crime is coming to this country and staying illegally. They're otherwise law-abiding and hardworking and tax-paying. This is what you heard yesterday from Jelly Belly Pritzker in response to the suspected surge in ICE operations in Chicago. We need these workers. Otherwise, we can't make America work. Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers took it a step further.
I believe that in Wisconsin, our ability to keep our undocumented people working like they are now at a really high numbers in the state of Wisconsin, if he takes that to a improper end, our economy will be gone.
What the? Wow, really? The entire Wisconsin economy will just evaporate into thin air. Well, I don't know about that. But the question, it is a legitimate one to say, well, we have declining birth rates. We have all these unfilled jobs. For example, the National Association of Manufacturers estimated this summer that there are 415,000 manufacturing jobs that have gone unfilled, and projects out that between now and 2033, that number could track to 2 million. So what are we to do? Do we just have to accept that without people coming to this country illegally, we won't be at replacement rate as a population, and we won't be growing as a population as a result? And if you're not growing, you're dying. So we have to do this for economic exigency. Someone who disputes that claim is our next guest, Adam Coleman, founder of Wrong Speak Publishing, author of The Children We Left Behind, How Western Culture Rationalizes Family Separation and Ignores the Pain of Child Neglect. The Children We Left Behind is the book. Adam Coleman is the author. He joins us now. Adam, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
So you would take issue with what the good governor there of Wisconsin, Tony Evers, had to say, wouldn't you?
Yeah, 100% I would take issue with it. And I feel like now they're letting the mask slip. Before, they used to pretend that they weren't highly dependent on illegal labor. And now, states like California, now Illinois, is admitting that they're highly dependent on illegal labor. They can call it undocumented workers all they want, but we already know what that means. That means that these are people who are in this country and they're not supposed to be. They're violating our federal law, our immigration laws, to come here so they can work at a discounted rate and undercut the American worker. So I highly disagree with the idea that the only way for America to survive is with illegal labor, when they're taking jobs that Americans want to do.
Well, I mean, then how do you address those sectors that say, look, I'm happy to hire I know personally manufacturers in Chicagoland. Look, I'm happy to hire, Americans and not sort of turn a blind eye to hiring people here illegally, but I'm having a hard time finding people that, want to operate a digital lathe or want to do assembly work at a manufacturing facility and other such jobs. So, and you heard the macro number, at least that the National Association of Manufacturers put out that I just mentioned. So what do you say? And agriculture too, you hear farmers talk about the same problem in terms of the need for labor that's hard to fill. So what do you say to those numbers in those sectors?
Well, I would say this: we shouldn't look at the short term. Every time we look at the short term, we get long-term strife. We have to see this as a long-term venture, because for a very long time, this went unchecked. Places like Los Angeles has turned into Little Mexico because no one did anything about it. So these are real issues that we actually have to have a long-term vision for. Not every child has to go to college. We used to have vocational schools attached to the high schools to track them into the trades, so they can come out and be part of like some sort of tradesman program, or to actually be part of the trades. The problem that we have is that we all think we deserve some sort of premium white-collar job and sit in some office space getting paid six figures. And that's the lie that we've told Gen Z. and they think they're failures because it's not coming true, and they're coming out of college riddled with debt. So we actually have to change our culture as well as the laws. Not change the laws, enforce the laws. We have to change our culture and enforce the laws, essentially.
And the other piece of this, too, is maybe we have to say, well, we don't make sweeping public policy based solely on our immediate economic needs, as you said, when it otherwise undermines the rule of law in this country. That's just not how we're going to do it. I mean, if you want to talk, frankly, about like a guest worker program, which we've had a lot of experience with over the course of our country's history, well, that's one thing. But to just sort of throw up our hands and say, because we need the labor in this particular sector for this particular business in a particular moment, we're just going to turn a blind eye to the rule of law. That doesn't sound too sensible. We can make accommodations, but we can do it under the law.
100%. I am not against immigration. You know, my father was an immigrant to this country. So I'm not against immigration. Immigration works when it makes sense. Immigration doesn't work when you turn a blind eye and you don't enforce the actual immigration laws that we have. And so the Biden administration was the absolute worst in American history as far as just allowing anything to happen, anything to take place, and they funded it, and they funded it through NGOs, and they allowed the turmoil to happen, and they didn't care what this would do to the working class American. So these are slow trickles that have been happening for decades. I'm watching communities that used to be relatively diverse or one particular demographic being completely taken over and to shift to an illegal population. I'm seeing jobs in New Jersey where we have warehouses all over our state, and they only hire within those neighborhoods that are Hispanic dominated because they know a large population of them, not everyone, but a large population of them are illegal. And they cater to the illegal worker because they can pay them minimum wage, and if one doesn't work out, they can find 10 more. So that is the mentality of the warehouse worker, the factory worker, the factory companies. These are the short-term mentalities of just going after the cheapest labor they can possibly get.
Well, right. And then how this plays out in places like New Jersey, like Illinois, that are sanctuary jurisdictions and lorded over by open borders politicians, is not only do they take the position of treating people here illegally the same as U.S. citizens residing in their state, they actually treat the people here illegally better. In point of fact, in Illinois, in the last year, we've spent a year and a half, we spent about $1.5 to $2 billion in the provision of Medicaid coverage, health care to people in this country legally residing in Illinois. That doesn't even include the sort of dollars spent on schooling their children and so forth. Meanwhile, Chicago has the highest black poverty rate of the top 15 major metropolitan areas in the country. So on the one hand, you have American citizens residing in Chicago languishing in dependency. On the other hand, you're providing all sorts of incentives, subsidizing essentially people to come here illegally because they get health care coverage, they get their children go to school for free, and they have access to work, as you say, in certain sectors.
Yes, exactly. And those particular people are taking the jobs that maybe those people who are in poverty could work in those particular warehouses or factories, but instead they're being replaced by cheaper labor who will work longer hours for less pay, who will work under the table, and they don't have to worry about employee taxes. Like, they don't have to worry about that stuff. They can just escape the law and no one cares. It's very much so systematic. And one thing that you said before you brought me on is that it's like a victimless crime. If the only crime they're violating is being here when they're not supposed to, well, that's not true. The vast majority of illegal migrants are breaking multiple paper crimes. They're either showing fake licenses, fake Social Security cards. They're using someone else's ID, whether it be a family member or some stranger's account. they're using and they're constantly breaking the law. Multiple paper crimes that are happening. If someone is helping them out through a DMV, giving them licenses when they shouldn't be, that's another law that's being broken. There's lots and lots of laws that are being broken. So we're kind of having a social breakdown if we keep this up.
Right. I mean, actually, to your point, this high-profile case out of Florida with the illegal immigrant from India who fraudulently obtained a CDL license, does an illegal U-turn on a expressway, for goodness sakes, kills 3 people who, interestingly, turn out to be Haitian immigrants. So there again, for everybody who wants to play identitarian politics among that open borders crowd, you're making it unsafe for everybody, including other immigrants, right?
Right.
And it's more systemic than I think the Tony Everses and the Phil Murphys and the J.B. Pritzkers of the world would have you believe. Listen to this investigative report by First Coast News down in Florida, a sting that was conducted by the Florida Highway Patrol on people in this country illegally who cannot read English, illicitly obtaining licenses.
So how does FHP say this cheating scheme works?
We were shocked to see the extent that they were going to.
Brian calls it organized fraud. According to investigators, the men went in here, the DMV on Roosevelt, to take the CDL test to drive a truck. But they are rigged up with equipment to get their answers.
And you see the actual apparatus that he's wearing. He has a chest harness that actually holds the phone.
A red iPhone in the harness, and under a T-shirt, you see the hole right there? So he comes in this T-shirt with a hole cut in it.
Yes.
Now watch this. In a video we've obtained from the DMV, this man opening his shirt. Brian says it's kind of like FaceTime. The men sit in front of a computer and wiggle around.
Their body language is abnormal.
Until somebody outside in a parking lot can read the test questions on the screen in English and then tell them through this earpiece in their language. Employees at the DMV got suspicious.
Most people don't start to disrobe when they take a DL test.
They're unbuttoning their shirts.
They are, indeed.
So the 5 men arrested so far, that's just the tip of the iceberg?
It is.
This is happening all over the country. Maybe from Jacksonville we can make a difference.
It's like when Norm helped Sam Malone play that chess game against Robin Colcord from the back office with an earpiece, except it's a little bit more serious when it's fraudulent CDL licenses.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that report is one of many that are starting to pop up. Sometimes out of a tragedy, you find out all different types of information, how bad things really are. And now we're starting to find out reports that actually getting driver's license and CDLs in general, they're being helped out by people who are sympathetic in the DMV, and they're getting paid under the table to do so. In some cases where it's an entire office is in on the play. So there are a lot of illegal things that are going on, and people are being very brazen about it because there was no enforcement. And I can tell you just personally, I've been in many of these warehouses in New Jersey where they are hiring illegal workers. And I could tell you companies that you've heard of that are doing this, probably still to this day. And one thing I'll tell you, no one's ever worried about ICE coming through the door.
Interesting, for all the demagoguing of ICE that's going on by some of those same politicians I just mentioned and so many others. And yet, well, because of course, I mean, they've got enough on their plate to try to apprehend 500,000 people in this country who are either convicted felons or accused of a serious crime who pose public safety threats just from the previous 4 years. So for all the talk about they're going to raid this business and they're going to raid that business, the reality is that both employers and a lot of these illegal immigrants know that, it's unlikely that they're in much jeopardy. They may have some one-offs. They have had some one-offs, but in terms of how expansive the practice is versus the resources devoted to enforcement, I mean, it's not even a close call, right? So you would need to do something like impose E-Verify as a mandate as opposed to an option to begin to rein some of this in, I suppose.
I mean, E-Verify, and I've seen where this happens right now where it's optional.
Yeah.
They use third-party organizations and companies to hire people as quote-unquote contractors. But even E-Verify can't catch them all. If I'm using my cousin's ID and we look similar, and on top of that, the employer doesn't really care either way as long as it checks out fine, then I can still get hired. If I'm stealing someone's ID, that E-Verify can't catch them all. And on top of that, we're also hoping that the employer sees that E-Verify says this person's illegal, and they actually don't hire that person. So
it's part enforcement and part culture change.
Yeah. Yes. I think if we're going to have a massive shift in hiring illegal workers, unfortunately, you got to go after businesses. You got to impose the strongest fine that you can. If Trump signed an executive order or passed some sort of bill saying that if you hire illegal workers and there's a massive penalty, you now disincentivize actually breaking the law. And no one's going to take that risk. Your business goes under if you hire illegal workers. There's no second shot at this. That's it. You're done. You have to close up shop. No one's going to take that risk.
Adam Coleman, founder of Wrong Speak Publishing, author of The Children We Left Behind, How Western Culture Rationalizes Family Separation and Ignores the Pain of Child Neglect. Adam Coleman, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And Adam Coleman joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, doctors Economos, Gave Alice, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidiscipline practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930, 630-830-4930, or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
How safe is your retirement? War is everywhere, debt continues to skyrocket, and the dollar is losing purchasing power. The value of the dollar is falling fast. That's why more and more people are converting their IRA or 401k to a gold and silver IRA to protect their retirement. In 2025, both gold and silver have risen an impressive 29%, and many experts project even bigger gains ahead. Take action now. Convert some of your IRA or 401k to a gold and silver IRA with Lear Capital. Call 800-889-3070 for your free precious metals guide and IRA transfer kit. And with a qualified purchase, get up to $15,000 in bonus gold or silver deposited directly into your precious metals IRA. Lear Capital, the nation's leader in precious metals for 28 years. Call today at 800-889-3070. That's 800-889-3070, 800-889-3070.
If you're drowning in debt, you need to call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender, about a fresh start debt consolidation refinance. Today, meet Jordan, 47, project manager, married to Jackie, 43, executive assistant, combined income 260 G's a year, living in a $600,000 home with their 3 kids, called to pay off $120,000 worth of credit card debt, high interest rate consumer loans, and 2 401k loans. Team Hochberg loan officer Cindy Piazza helped Jordan and Jackie pay off their debt, eliminated their stress with the Team Hochberg Fresh Start Debt Consolidation Refinance, which saved them over $12,000 a year. Team Hochberg's helped thousands of radio listeners, but we can't help if you don't call 855-563-2843 or visit 56david.com. That number again is 855-563-2843 or visit that website you know and love, 56david.com. Lower.com, equal housing lender, MLS 1124061.
Did you know that AM 560 Radio has a full-service digital marketing division called Salem Surround? If you're a business decision maker, listen up. AM 560 listeners are everywhere your potential audience is. So are our incredible targeting capabilities. We localize digital marketing and put it within reach of every business, small and large, in Chicagoland and beyond. Salem Surround offers AI-powered marketing solutions that reach your ideal audience. Whether or not you tap into the proven live, local, and emotional connection that AM 560 Radio brings, Salem Surround offers a total marketing solution to our partners. All-in-one digital solutions that provide targeted local digital and social media ads, Google AdWords management, website services, video strategy, search optimization, and even a management dashboard to offer you total campaign updates and transparency. Your Salem Surround representative is located right here in Chicago. Experience the Salem Surround digital revolution today. Call 847-472-8951. That's 847-472-8951.
AM 560, The
Answer. What makes American capitalism unlike any other? We'll start there with Steve Moore at 7:37. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 62 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Governor Pritzker says that President Trump is planning to send National Guard troops to Chicago.
Democrat J.B. Pritzker told reporters he also believes other federal officers from various agencies will also soon enter the city.
We have reason to believe that the Trump administration has already begun staging the Texas National Guard for deployment in Illinois.
Pritzker made the comments just moments after Trump said he plans to deploy the Guard to the Windy City to help fight crime. Pritzker once again says he does not want troops on the streets of Chicago and takes offense when Trump calls the city a hellhole. He vows to fight the troop deployments in court. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer is taking shots at President Trump as Congress comes back from its August recess. In a speech on the Senate floor, Schumer called Trump pathetic and criticized a banner posted in Washington, D.C. depicting an image of the president.
Lenin, Stalin, Mao, Putin, Kim Jong-un, and other bullies throughout history have depended on these images because they were desperate to seem powerful and important and untouchable.
Lawmakers are facing the possibility of a government shutdown as a result of the annual spending battle. Schumer took a lot of heat from his own party after voting with Republicans to avoid a shutdown in March. Republicans will once again need Democrats to pass a temporary spending bill. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Town Hall News, where conservative voices cut through the noise from breaking headlines to fearless opinion. We report what matters without apology. Written by people who actually believe what you believe. Town Hall tells the stories the corporate press buries, from President Trump to Capitol Hill, from pivotal elections to your everyday lives. Join the movement at townhall.com. Real stories, real reporters, real conservative media.
Making the switch to a new communications and IT company may seem like a big ordeal. But if you're not getting the reliable support, consistent internet, and secure solutions your company needs, meet Access One, your local Chicagoland IT experts. Access One has been powering Chicago businesses with secure, reliable IT solutions for over 30 years from our headquarters right here in the West Loop. Whether it's VoIP phones, dedicated internet, managed cybersecurity, cloud backups, or 24/7 support, Access One is here for you. Serving thousands of companies from Naperville to the North Shore, Access One is Chicago-owned and Chicago-run, a trusted IT partner for law firms, clinics, tech startups to manufacturers. We'll make the switch easier than you think. Let's talk. Call 800-804-8333 or visit accessoneInc.com. rated top 5% in customer satisfaction, and a Better Business Bureau A+ rated business. That's AccessOneInc.com. Tech made personal, locally.
Your home or business has storm damage and you have an insurance claim.
Call Crosscom.
Crosscom Construction and Public Adjusters. Today, insurance companies are notorious for offering way too little money to repair damage to your home or commercial building due to wind, hail, tornado, floods, or fire. Crosscom works for you, not the insurance company. As licensed adjusters, Crosscom will work to get you the money you deserve, the maximum payout.
Call Crosscom.
630-871-5500. After they get you the fair insurance company result, Crosscom can start doing your repairs. Crosscom is a full construction and restoration company that will get your property back to its pre-loss condition, getting your life back to normal. Roof, siding, windows, doors, fire restoration, Crosscom does it all.
Call Crosscom.
Licensed in Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana, and Wisconsin.
This is Dan Leitz with Crosscom. We share your conservative and Christian values. Let us handle everything. It all starts with a call.
630-871-5500. CrosscomPublicAdjusters.com.
Are you looking to hire? ZipRecruiter finds the best candidate for your job fast. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 19 minutes, 15 minutes outbound. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 26 minutes outbound is about 15 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 49 minutes outbound is about 23 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 31 minutes outbound is 20 minutes. This report is sponsored by Rocket Mortgage. Homeowners, would you like to save on your monthly payments? Mortgage rates have been dropping. Visit rocketmortgage.com today to see what you could save. Call 800-863-4332 for low-cost information and conditions. Rocket Mortgage LLC, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, Consumer Access Organization number 3030. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now I check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today, expect increasing cloudiness with temperatures reaching a high of 74. It won't be as warm, becoming breezy in the afternoon with a couple of showers and a possible thunderstorm. Gusty winds may accompany any downpour. Tonight, anticipate a few showers early on, then clearing up. Temperatures dropping to a low of 49, cooler than earlier. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Good piece of reporting commentary by Roger Lowenstein in the Wall Street Journal. What makes U.S. capitalism unlike any other? It's not particularly new, but there's some jarring data points that suggest we should be very jealous in guarding the golden goose that is a free minds and free market orientation, even as Europe walks away from both. He writes, the Jeffersonian origins of our economic system make it uniquely geared toward the individual. Unit of analysis is the individual, yes. Europe has a broad safety net and high-speed rail. America has highways and startups. Good dichotomy. Nowhere else is risk-taking so encouraged, and not coincidentally, nowhere else has innovation thrived as it has here. Both law and culture help to shape our capitalism in ways that reflect the spirit of the American Revolution. Going back to the founding, the early American economy was close to the Jeffersonian egalitarian ideal. The overwhelming economic fact was abundance of land. Immigrants improved their station merely by migrating, not that the trip was easy. Unlike in Europe, they could put down a stake or enter a trade without interference by a dominant caste or entitled elite, that is. Yes, now it's just difficult because the dominant cast is the government. The result was profoundly democratic. Americans were yeoman farmers, small manufacturers, fur traders, canal builders, tavern keepers, craftsmen, and merchants. Jefferson himself said, with respect to the small gap between rich and poor, can any condition of society be more desirable than this? The singularly American fact that people could rise above their birth inspired a new literature, tales of self-improvement. Equality wasn't guaranteed, but opportunity was. So while inequality, I should say, is alive and well, Lowenstein writes, American capitalism remains fiercely competitive, remarkably productive, resilient in the face of 1,000 doomsayers, and the author of a persistent wealth gap. Inequality increased in the 80s and 90s. It remains well above previous levels. However, there's trade-offs in this world. Europe is more equal in terms of the disparity, but it's also poorer. You ready for this? Per capita income in Arkansas, one of the poorest states, is greater than in Germany. Overall, per capita income in the United States is an astonishing 84% higher than in Europe. The gap shrinks if one adjusts for purchasing power, but by any measure, more Americans are employed, they have bigger houses and more washing machines, air conditioners, and computers, they eat out more, and the differences are significant. You be careful when you look around and say, we should be more like Western Europe. No, we shouldn't. We should be more like the founders envisioned, if we should be more like anything. It's just always nice to do a little stop, look, and listen when you have so many, unfortunately, in big urban centers and in blue states like, say, Illinois, so many people that would lead us down the road to serfdom in positions of political power. For more on this and other more pedestrian matters, we're pleased to be joined by Stephen Moore, economist and author of The Trump Economic Miracle and the Plan to Unleash Prosperity Again, co-authored with Art Laffer. Steve, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, Dan, good to be with you. I did read that article in the Wall Street Journal over the weekend. I liked it a lot. And people, though. So just two events. Can you hear me, by the way?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Two things happened in the last week or so that are moving us in the wrong direction. One is that the United States government is now going to give $10 billion to Intel because they're failing and they need a leg up. So they're going to take taxpayer money from companies that succeed and give it to companies that don't succeed. That's industrial policy. It's stupid. And then at the same time, we had a court ruling yesterday by the judges that said that Google is too successful. They're too successful, and they have to, are you ready for this, Dan? They have to, quote, share, unquote, share their technology and their data with all the other little companies that aren't Google.
Yeah. Well,
how stupid is that?
Well,
what kind of
very.
They're making too much money. Oh my God, they're too successful. And by the way, Google Chrome, which they wanted, thank God they didn't take Google Chrome away from Google. It's free. It costs nothing. Oh, they're gouging consumers.
Right. Well, and herein lies the difference between us and them. I mean, I have no use for Larry Page and Sergey Brin politically because they're both men of the left.
Right.
But that doesn't mean I want to do doesn't mean I want to do violence to their business, which is their private property and something I respect.
Right.
That's another sort of lesson along this.
Are you saying they should? Are you saying they shouldn't have to share?
Yeah, right. Yeah, sharing is caring, particularly at the point of a gun. Yeah,
exactly. But no, look, the point here is really an important one, that the U.S. is, despite all of our flaws, we're still the kind of Wild West when it comes to the economy. Let people succeed and fail, and that's what you have to do. And we have incredible companies. We have 7 companies that now have more net worth than all of the companies in Europe combined. And so it's a real testament to our free enterprise system, the fact that we have so many smart immigrants coming into the country, that you put that in combination with great Yankee ingenuity and you create great companies. And we need to keep doing that.
Yeah, I mean, even didn't I see even Crown Royal is moving some of its production or bottling or some part of its operation, moving more of it. It already had a presence here, but moving more of it to the United States, just in terms of this whole sort of North American back and forth between Canada and the United States and 51st state and all this business. At the end of the day, despite all of our self-inflicted punishments when it comes to capital formation and business location, I mean, this is a place people want to be, and it papers over some of the damage we do to ourselves.
Yeah, everybody wants to be anywhere except in Chicago and New York and the places where you have the murder capitals. But no, look, we do see a lot of business moving into the United States, but they're not just moving to the United States. It's important to understand that people are moving to red states.
Yeah.
They're not moving to blue cities, and that's the real tragedy. Because we need to clean up the cities. We need to. And when Chicago voters elect someone like Brandon Johnson, you pay a high price for that. If New York elects this guy Mandani, there will be no Wall Street left. That's my prediction. Wall Street will no longer be in New York City. It will be in Dallas, or it will be in Miami, or somewhere else. So the people really are voting with their feet against these socialist policies, not just around the world, but within the country as well.
Something else that's happening in court that bears some commentary is Trump's tariffs are running into trouble in federal court. Now, they always assume this would get to the Supreme Court, which is where this is tracking. But the suggestion, Trump's suggestion is that basically if the tariffs that I imposed are overturned, it'll be the end of America, which I think is a bit over the top. But the CBO says Trump is bringing in enough revenue from tariffs to cut deficits by $4 trillion over the next decade. That assumes a lot of things, including spending restraint. But is that something that you applaud, that CBO data point?
So, look, I don't think Donald Trump listens to your show, so I can be very frank.
Yes.
because I like Donald Trump, and I think what he's done has been amazing on the economy. But I disagree with him on this, not just because I disagree with terrorists, but I think I'm a strict constructionist when it comes to the Constitution. The words mean what they say, in my opinion. And what does you're familiar with this, Dan? What does the Constitution say about taxes?
Congress shall levy.
Congress shall levy, and that the tax bill shall start where? In the House of Representatives, not in the Oval Office of the White House. Now, look, I like Trump. I know a lot of people who listen to the show like Trump, but I think he's wrong here. I think that these decisions and by the way, a tariff, Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, a tariff is a tax, is it not?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. So that means that these need to be passed by Congress, in my opinion, and I don't think the president has this quote emergency authority to levy these high taxes. So I think he's going to lose in the Supreme Court. We'll see how people like Clarence Thomas and Alito and others vote on this. But if they're true to the Constitution, I think they're going to say. Now, the kind of little asterisk here is that Congress, in all its infinite wisdom, has delegated taxing authority to the president. And I think that is illegal, too. I don't think they can just allow the president. We don't have a monarchy in this country.
Yeah, right. The profiles encourage that want somebody else to do their dirty work.
Exactly.
So yeah, you can understand where he's inclined to intervene and come up with perhaps creative interpretations of statutory law. But the flip side is, for all of the jawboning about tariffs, it's a position that a lot of Democrats actually support, and a lot of MAGA Republicans do. So they actually might be able to impose it themselves if they were compelled to.
No, it's very funny, actually, isn't it, that the Democrats are, saying, yeah, you don't have the authority to raise the taxes. And by the way, we like tariffs. No, we hate tariffs. We like them. We hate them. They are against whatever Trump is for, even though it was the Bernie Sanders. Although I have to give Bernie Sanders credit. He came out wholeheartely in favor of Trump's takeover of Intel.
Yeah, the equity stake in Intel, I know. Yeah. Yeah. Well, the good news, bad news would be, if you believe that Trump is incorrect on this, And if that's ultimately where the Supreme Court came down, then he may think he lost, but the economic impact of rolling back these tariffs may be a win for the American economy.
Well, I think, but the flip side of that, and I agree with what you just said, but it is true. Like, people ask me, what do I think about Trump's tariffs? I don't like his tariffs, but I do like his trade deals. I think his trade deals with Canada, with the UK, with the Europeans have been pretty favorable to the United States. And I think what Trump would say is, look, I'm using these tariffs as a weapon, a sword against some of these other countries, and the courts may take that sword away from him. So that's, I mean, I know people have very different opinions on this, and even some of my best friends are like, oh, Trump should be able to do whatever he wants. And I'm not, but can you imagine, here's a scenario I want you to think about, Dan. Let us say, God forbid, that Kamala Harris had won the election. And one of the first things she said is, we have a climate change emergency.
Right.
The world is coming to an end. We have to quadruple our taxes on energy, or else, where the polar ice caps are going to melt. And then would we say, oh, yeah, she has that authority to do it? No, we wouldn't.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to get your handle on a couple of stories out this week that may be concerning if they turn out to...
By the way, can I interrupt you 1 second?
Sure.
Did you see talking about big stories, did you see the story that the polar ice caps aren't melting like they thought they were?
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah. Imagine that the model's not working out as... I mean, have they ever...
That never happens.
Has a model predicting something that's going to happen 5 or 10 months, so it's 25 or 50 years from now, ever actually been accurate? But these
CBO.
these stories that could be concerning if they turn out to be canaries in the coal mine. Black Americans are losing jobs in a warning for the economy. Black unemployment rate has risen to 7.2%, the highest level since October of 2021. And U.S. stocks now pricier than they were in the dot-com era. In point of fact, they are the 10 largest companies accounting for 40% of the total value of the S&P 500. That is the highest concentration of in terms of market value among a small group of companies in the history. So are we heading for, I don't want to say a bubble bursting, because I'm not even sure what that bubble would be, but are we heading for a retrenchment, a correction here?
Boy, if I knew the answer to that question, I would be in Tahiti right now. I mean, who knows when the bubble is going to burst. But look, and I'm not too concerned about the PE ratios being high because, for one thing, we just passed a big tax cut, which really is very favorable to business. It's going to bring a lot of enterprise and dollars flowing in the United States. So I still am pretty bullish on the stock market. But look, I understand. I get a lot of letters from my friends and readers saying, oh, my God, the PE ratios are way high, and they are high. That is true, but there are other factors at stake here. So, and by the way, if you're not going to invest in America, where are you going to invest? I mean, we have a very pro-business president right now, and that I think is going to be a positive thing. In terms of the black high unemployment, it's a tragedy what's happened, and it's a tragedy of our schools. It's a tragedy the fact that so many kids are coming out of high school without being able to read or do math, especially in Chicago. When are you folks going to do something about your miserable schools?
Well, yeah. Tell me about it. And it's not just the miserable schools in Chicago. There's a lot of suburban school districts around the country that are not what they used to be, including your very own New Trier, by the way. Hate to break it to you.
But the people who are most victimized by the bad government-run schools are the minorities.
Well, right, but I mean, in addition to that story, there's other stories this week too about it just doesn't, and this is anecdotal, and you try to balance these things, but people are reading it, and it gets them a little jittery. It gets me a little jittery. Where you have a lot of middle Americans not feeling great about where they are right now, not feeling like they are getting ahead. Prices for everyday goods still high relative to their wages and wage growth, and then a lot of people are struggling to make ends meet.
Look, I've seen those polls. I'm very familiar with them, and it is true. People are feeling a little bit glum about the economy. On the other hand, if you look at actually what's happening in the economy, almost all the statistics are pointing north. I mean, so you've got real high employment rates. You've got, wages are rising for the first time in 4 years. You've got a booming stock market. So I think the statistics and what's really happening in the economy are very different than, people's attitudes about it.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, there was that Americans lose faith that hard work leads to economic gains in today's journal. So
that's terrible. I mean, that's a really terrible, but again, this is partly her education system, which is turning kids. A lot of those negative attitudes are among young people, and they've been taught to hate capitalism and free. It goes right back to what we started this conversation about. We have the winning formula here, and everybody's trying to change it.
Yeah, and they've been taught sort of an entitlement attitude that that needs to be addressed. Steve Moore, economist, author of The Trump Economic Miracle. Steve, thanks as always.
Okay, and Dan, don't forget, the word of the day is share.
Share. Share at the point of a gun. That's the phrase of the day.
Take care.
Thanks as always, Steve. You joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
At AlmostFreeTeeth.com, they're dedicated to making smiles great again. If you have medical PPO insurance, find out how you could save 90% off on average to get a beautiful dental implant-supported smile. Check if you qualify right now at AlmostFreeTeeth.com.
People ask us all the time, when's the best time to replace an old air conditioner? Simple. Before it breaks. Because when it does, you know it'll be the hottest day of the year, and suddenly you're scrambling like hundreds of others to get help during a heat wave. At Air Right Heating and Cooling, we've seen it all. We know there's never a good time to be without AC, especially in Chicagoland, where the humidity can make 80 degrees feel like 100. At Air Right, our experienced technicians don't just work fast, they'll do it right. Browse through our more than 1,500 five-star Google reviews to see what our loyal customers love most about us. If it's been a while since your system was inspected, don't wait for a heat wave before having it checked out. And right now, AM 560 listeners receive $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right, doing it right since 1959.
Perhaps you're a collector, or perhaps all of a sudden you have a collection. Maybe it's an inheritance. How do you know what it's worth? This is Sean Thompson for Donley Auction. The market for antiques and collectibles is changing all the time. What is your collection worth right now? Well, I've got an easy way to find out. It's simple. You contact Donley Auctions with their worldwide audience of live and in-person auctions. They have a good idea of how to tell you exactly what it's worth at exactly right now. They're ready to put top dollar in your pocket. The bigger the collection, the better. Go to DonleyAuctions.com and get the info on all things that they buy and sell to have an idea of exactly what Donley does and how much they need your collection. They have so many buyers, it's a great time to sell. Just simply make a phone call. Donley has traveled all over the country to pick up collections. Just call and talk to the people at Donley Auctions at 815-923-7000. Donley Auctions is your trusted partner in turning your collections into cash. DonleyAuctions.com.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Bob Chivato, owner of Go Exceed and a customer of Signature Bank. By leveraging AI and machine learning, we provide data management solutions for corporations to save time and money managing their cellular devices. While we rely on machines to help us run our business, we believe personal relationships are essential. This is why we chose Signature Bank. Having a banking partner who understands our background, our business, and our priorities is fundamental to our success. Any bank can provide basic services, but having a bank that you can trust, one that looks out for you and treats your business like its own, that's irreplaceable.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Call Signature Bank at 773-467-5600 or visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life. AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Coming up at 8:08, should Chicago residents fear their fellow citizens, the National Guard, ICE agents? We'll ask Alderman Ray Lopez at 8:08. It is now 8 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
It's a deadly serious mission. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's what Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth says about combating drug trafficking in the Caribbean near Venezuela the day after a U.S. military strike on a boat that killed 11 gang members.
It won't stop with just this strike. Anyone else trafficking in those waters who we know is a designated narco-terrorist will face the same fate.
Secretary Hegseth also just told Fox more National Guard troops will be ready to be deployed to other cities, like the crackdown in Washington, D.C., defending the one back in June. Also, that a federal judge yesterday ruled was illegal in Los Angeles.
It already has been appealed in California because it's an incorrect decision. Ultimately, the president had every authority. The National Guard was working completely within those confines, supporting law enforcement, protecting federal buildings and federal agents.
They were deployed amid destructive protests in L.A. over illegal immigration raids. In another case, a federal appeals court ruled that the president cannot invoke the Alien Enemies Act from the 18th century to fast-track deportations of people here illegally, like he did in March when he sent alleged gang members to El Salvador. Back to the National Guard. President Trump says troops will go into Chicago, though he didn't say when, claiming crime's out of control there, and he'll solve it like in the nation's capital.
Washington, D.C. is a safe zone right now.
But Democratic Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker says the troops aren't wanted or needed in Chicago and warns
unidentifiable agents in unmarked vehicles with masks are planning to raid Latino communities and say they're targeting violent criminals.
The House has released more than 30,000 pages of Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking case files.
This comes as victims of Jeffrey Epstein met with lawmakers behind closed doors, where members of Congress like Republican Anna Paulina Luna say serious allegations were made.
There's some very rich and powerful people that need to go to jail.
That was Fox's Ryan Schmelz reporting from the Capitol. A bill to compel the release of more Epstein files is being pushed by a bipartisan group of lawmakers. America's listening to Fox.
Good morning. It's 66 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. President Trump is vowing to send the National Guard to the city of Chicago.
Well, we're going in. I didn't say when. We're going in. When you lose, look, I have an obligation. This isn't a political thing. I have an obligation.
Yesterday, the president also repeatedly said that Governor Pritzker should call him and that he would be happy to help fight crime.
I would love to have Governor Pritzker call me. I'd gain respect for him and say, we do have a problem and we'd love you to send in the troops because you know what? The people, they have to be protected.
Governor Pritzker said he learned that federal agents and military vehicles began staging on Monday on nearby federal property, including Naval Station Great Lakes in North Chicago.
Unidentifiable agents in unmarked vehicles with masks are planning to raid Latino communities and say they're targeting violent criminals.
Mayor Johnson blamed the president for the city's ongoing gun violence.
Chicago will continue to have a violence problem as long as red states continue to have a gun problem. Shootings will continue as long as this presidential administration continues to put politics over people.
This all follows a very violent Labor Day weekend in Chicago, which saw at least 58 people shot, with 8 of them killed. And family and friends are mourning the death of a beloved homeless man on the southwest side. The community gathered yesterday to remember Pedro Toledo. Police say he was shot and killed Sunday near 17th and Walcott. Loved ones believe he was an innocent bystander who got caught in the crossfire. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes, but now time for the Signature Bank Business Beat.
I'm Liz Clayman, and this is the Fox Business Report.
For the first time in 3 years, Macy's sales at existing stores improved in the summer quarter. Now Macy's is raising expectations for the year. Macy's shares are up 6%. Shoppers are looking for discounts, and that helped Dollar Tree in recent months. Its profit top forecasts it's raising expectations for the year, even though it is less optimistic about the current quarter, so the stock's down 3.5%. NASDAQ futures are higher, getting a boost from Alphabet and Apple shares. A federal judge has ruled that Alphabet's Google doesn't need to sell its Chrome browser and can continue to pay Apple to be the default search on its devices. Google will need to share some search data. Both stocks are higher. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Cosola. Invested in you.
Join John Anthony, host of Black and Right, for a cruise on Lake Michigan, Saturday, September 6th. Come aboard the luxury yacht Free Spirit for a fun afternoon with fellow AM 560 listeners. Enjoy great food and beverages and be a part of the live broadcast of Black and Right with John Anthony. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/cruise. That's 560theanswer.com/cruise. An informed and educated citizenry is the only guarantee to preserve our constitutional republic. And each week, you'll hear from experts, not pundits, and find out what's really happening, from local issues to national politics. Listen to The Real Story with Jeannie Ives. There's no topic of public policy concern that she won't talk about. Stop the lies. Learn the truth. Join the conversation. Sunday night at 7, right here on AM 560, The Answer.
You think your 401k is safe, growing, reliable. But here's the truth. The 401k was never designed to make you wealthy. It was built to shift risk onto you, leaving your retirement exposed to Wall Street crashes, inflation, and chaos. Noble Gold helps Americans roll over part of their 401k into real physical gold. Tax advantage, penalty-free, and shockproof. Get your free wealth protection kit now at noblegoldinvestments.com. That's noblegoldinvestments.com. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals, including gold, involves risks. Consult with your tax attorney or financial professional before making an investment decision.
Larry Elder here. More than 200 members of Congress are standing up for AM radio listeners. The AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act will keep AM radio in cars because when cell and internet services are down, this free service could be your only lifeline. Text AM to 39179 and tell Congress to pass this critical legislation now. Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to stop.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ethos.com/term.
Your home equity could vanish almost overnight, stolen by scammers who forge a deed and transfer it out of your name. The FBI calls it house stealing, and the worst part is you may not know it until it's too late. Find out if you're already a victim now at HomeTitleLock.com. Use promo code RADIO for a 30-day free trial, a title scan, and access to a title specialist, a $250 value. Go to HomeTitleLock.com now. Promo code RADIO.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 24 minutes. Outbound, 27 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Byrne Interchange, 42 minutes. Outbound is about 14 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 59 minutes. Outbound, 25 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 51 minutes. Outbound is 22 minutes. On the Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to the Byrne Interchange, 38 minutes. Outbound is 13 minutes. This traffic update is quickly delivered by Quick Delivery Service. For reliable same-day delivery, Quick Delivery will customize a logistics plan to pick up your items and move them safely to their destination. Trust their 40 years of experience for peace of mind. Get a quote at quickdelivery.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today we'll see more clouds and cooler temperatures with breezy conditions in the afternoon. Expect a few showers and a thunderstorm later, possibly accompanied by gusty winds. The high will reach 74. Tonight there will be some showers early on, but skies will clear and temperatures will drop to 49 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Should Chicago residents fear the National Guard? Should they fear ICE? Should they come to the realization there's nothing that the National Guard or ICE can do that will improve peace on the streets? What we need to focus on is affordable housing and violence interrupters and no cash bail. That's what's going to make things safer. That's the argument that JB and BJ offered yesterday at their joint press conference. JB saying this about ICE, but you can fold in National Guard because it's all the same ghost story that's being told.
Second, unidentifiable agents in unmarked vehicles with masks are planning to raid Latino communities and say they're targeting violent criminals. As we saw in Los Angeles, a very, very small percentage of the individuals they will target will be violent criminals. Instead, you're likely to see videos of them hauling away mothers and fathers, traveling to work or picking up their kids from school. Sometimes they will detain, handcuff, and haul away children. They are law-abiding individuals who pay taxes and contribute to the communities who feel safe going to work and attending mandatory immigration check-ins. In other words, they're following the law. We have reason to believe that Stephen Miller chose the month of September to come to Chicago because of celebrations around Mexican Independence Day that happen here every year. It breaks my heart to report that we have been told ICE will try and disrupt community picnics and peaceful parades. Let's be clear, the terror and cruelty is the point, not the safety of anyone living here.
Picked Mexican Independence Day. Well, that's not for 2 weeks. That's September 16th, isn't it? Do I have that right? I think so. But anyway, terror and cruelty, that's the point. Not law enforcement. Not public safety. ICE, and by extension, the National Guard, because the National Guard would be there to, in part, protect ICE's backside, if you will. Their point, the point of their deployment, the point of their existence is to terrorize the law-abiding and act in a cruel manner to Chicago residents and ostensibly people everywhere they go. It's an interesting characterization of federal law enforcement, of everyday Americans who serve in the National Guard and who work amongst us. It's responsible, isn't it? Somebody who represents some of those Latino neighborhoods, like Back of the Yards, Canaryville, Gage Park, Brighton Park, is Alderman Ray Lopez, who joins us now. Alderman Lopez, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Dan, good morning.
What's your reaction to what the governor had to say? Is he right? His characterization of ICE and by extension National Guard, that the point of them is to behave cruelly and terrorize people?
I don't think he's right at all. I think Governor Pritzker and by extension Brandon Johnson are completely off base, especially when it comes to Latino undocumented communities. These are the same individuals who wanted to play a game of chicken with Donald Trump over whether or not to allow our law enforcement officers to communicate with them when we arrest a non-citizen engaging in certain dangerous crimes in our city. They said, if you want them, come find them. Well, guess who arrives this week? Donald Trump to come find them. And he's putting all of the long-time undocumented, predominantly Mexican immigrants at risk when they could have easily turned over the 2,000 Venezuelan migrants whom Biden identified as threats to our country that are living in the city of Chicago, when we could have turned those over months ago and spared us this giant show today.
Yeah. In addition to not honoring detainers, ICE detainers, which has been something that Tom Homan has long publicly lamented, we could do things much more safely and much more easily in a law enforcement setting rather than having to take it to the streets. But you're forcing us to do this. It's not our preference. You have CPS that sent out an email this week. CPS does not ask our family's immigration status, will not coordinate with federal representatives, including ICE, does not share student records with ICE, will not allow ICE agents or any federal representatives access to CPS schools unless they produce a criminal judicial warrant signed by a judge, and so on and so forth. I mean, all of this is the sort of obstructionist rhetoric that you hear from JB and BJ. And so now, again, you're conceding the point that people are here illegally. You're conceding the point that some people here illegally have also committed additional crimes. And you're saying we're not going to help. And then when ICE comes in to go through you, as JB famously said, then you say, oh, it's authoritarianism and they're disappearing grandmas and arresting children.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous contortion of linguistics that they're doing right now. But it's great to gaslight my communities and spread anxiety in my neighborhoods for the sake of their performance of showing that they are standing up to Donald Trump. But you know what they always seem to miss the point is two things. One, they talk about Donald Trump as bending the law or avoiding the Constitution and so on and so forth. But where was that argument when Joseph Biden and Kamala Harris led in millions of individuals, manipulated our immigration laws, and broke our asylum rules to get millions of people into this country in the hopes that they'd have a full another term to try to figure out how to make them citizens? No one had anything bad to say about that setup. And when we also look at the fact that we keep hearing as another reason for why we don't need President Trump's assistance, whether it's the National Guard or the rest of the federal agencies under his control, they say that crime is down, crime is decreasing, all is good. I had a gentleman shot walking down the alley last night in back of the yards, 2 bullets in his head. I had 2 teenagers by Tilden High School in Canaryville last Friday walking home, shot by a Venezuelan migrant. You know what I haven't heard from Pritzker, Johnson, or anybody else? The names of these victims, calling out for the families, or anyone saying that that is not right in our neighborhoods. They are happy to concede that they are able to live with a certain amount of victims per year because we don't have to go any further. I say that we should challenge the Donald Trump administration and say, if you can do better than us, let's see what you can do. Because at the end of the day, that means more people will not be victimized in the city of Chicago if we're all pushing for the same thing, which is to have crime decrease even beyond the decrease.
Well, that's sort of what JB said when he was waddling along the lakefront with Marianne Ahern. Listen to this response to the violence over Labor Day weekend.
You're going to hear people, especially this past weekend, 54 shot, 7 dead. Yeah. They're going to say the city's not safe. Would you ask your friends to ride the L after midnight or after 9 o'clock at night even to come down to the city from O'Hare?
Look, big cities have crime. There's no doubt about it. But let's just pay attention to what President Trump is doing targeting Chicago. He's overlooking red states that have much higher crime rates.
So it's just big city living, and we're not as bad as red states. That's not true, but that's the excuse for 50. I think it's actually 58 shots, 7 dead over the weekend.
I don't really care about the whataboutisms as the governor's trying to deflect with, because all I can live with is the community that I was raised in, the ward I was elected by, and the city that I love. That is my only concern. I don't care what's going on in Memphis. I don't care what's going on in Tallahassee or any of the other red states that have or cities that have worse crime stats than we do. I have to deal with the Chicago situation right in front of us, and I think it's a dereliction of duty, if you will, for any elected official here to say, well, yeah, we got problems, but look at over there. I don't want to look over there because I have to look at what's right in front of me. And when I have individuals being kicked down L stations and their children die as a result, when you can't even walk down Michigan Avenue without wondering if you're going to get mugged as a tourist, or if I have to drive down Western Avenue and see how many traffic takeovers, street takeovers that go on by the amount of skid marks in the street, those are all perceived problems that have real roots. And to just keep ignoring them, to paper over them so that you can point the finger at Trump and say he's the bad guy, or that gun manufacturers are the bad guy while ignoring the people that are doing bad things, that's a serious disconnect that only allows for criminality to continue to fester in our city.
Yeah, I mean, it's, and by the way, on the L, I mean, I'm sure you've seen these videos going around on social media, too, a couple of weeks after the big executive order where BLM Brandon said no more smoking on the trains, and these trains look like scenes from a Cheech and Chong movie. So I don't think it's quite getting through. But, I know, executive orders are supposed to magically eliminate problems, but that's not actually how it works. I wonder what the reaction you get from your constituents, because, you're taking the way that you talk doesn't sound dissimilar from the way that I talk, and I don't know that I could get elected in the 15th ward. So I just wonder if you take heat for being so, even though it's substantive, being critical of Pritzker and Johnson.
Pritzker and Johnson aren't my constituents. My constituents are the folks in the neighborhoods that you mentioned earlier at the start of this segment, who want to feel safe in their communities, who want to feel safe going to work, dropping their kids off, or just sitting on their porch enjoying the summer afternoon. And right now they can't do that. They know that I'm fighting for them, and they understand that, what you hear from our higher ups doesn't match reality for those of us on the ground, and they want someone who's going to just give it to them plainly. And yes, we understand, and they appreciate that I acknowledge that the National Guard isn't a panacea. The National Guard has no policing authority, but they can help us alleviate some of the pressure on local law enforcement so that they could focus on answering those 911 calls that my residents often make that go unanswered.
Mm-hmm.
So they understand how to connect the dots to get to a logical conclusion, where Pritzker and Johnson like to just halt the conversation after the first two talking points and ignore everything else after that.
The other sort of moment of clarity this week was Brandon Johnson on the Morning Joe program, where he was offered hypothetically 5,000 police officers funded by the feds. Would he take them? 5,000 local police officers who would have local policing power as members of the Chicago Police Department. And he bobbed and weaved and basically dismissed the idea 5 different times. I mean, that is such a tell, as I mentioned earlier in the program, that this isn't about the National Guard and militarization. It's not about the Constitution. It's not even about Trump. It is an attitude, an ideologically fueled attitude that is against policing, prosecuting, and punishing. And that's what we're really seeing play out, it seems to me.
I 100% agree, Dan, that this has nothing to do with any of the rhetoric that they talk about. This is about making sure that criminals have the upper hand, victims are forgotten, and that we change the dynamic in the city of Chicago and indeed the greater state of Illinois, where we continue to elevate criminality at every level. A different, more liberal program I was on said, well, wouldn't it be better to use the money being spent on the National Guard to hire more police? And the fact of the matter is that even if you gave Brandon Johnson the opportunity to hire 5,000 officers, he would never fill those positions.
Right.
We have 1,500 positions vacant already within the police department across just from the detectives on down to the police officers that he won't fill. And that's a problem, which is all the more reason why the National Guard is needed here, because we spend countless man hours protecting Buckingham Fountain, Navy Pier, the Bean, Mag Mile, and whatnot. We can use the National Guard's uniform presence to do that and put hundreds of officers back into the streets, back into communities like mine, answering those 911 calls and putting bad guys in jail. That's the coordinated effort we need to do. And anyone who says that that's not worth the effort clearly has never lived in a neighborhood where you're terrorized every single day by those thugs in our streets.
Just on Brandon Johnson, too, I mean, another topic, but sort of the same MO. The battle he had with the CPS school board, where he wanted them to take out, he and Stacey Davis Gates, CTU president, wanted them to take out a $200 million high-interest loan, which would have resulted in, CPS is already the biggest junk bond purveyor in the country. This would have further degraded the creditworthiness of CPS and the city by extension. But this is what he said and he lost this fight, by the way. They wouldn't agree to this $200 million high interest loan to keep the plate spinning at CPS. This is what he said to those who were opposed to what he desired.
These individuals were reckless. Let's call it like it is. When you put a black man in charge of a city, all of a sudden, everybody wants to be in that house.
If you oppose the $200 million high interest loan, it's when you put this is what he said, when you put a black man in charge of the city, everybody all of a sudden wants to become an accountant, despite the fact that many members of the CPS board are black, and who opposed him. The CPS intern superintendent is black, who opposed him. But it's always the race card with this guy.
Every single time. And if I were a black woman, seeing a black woman in a leadership role being talked down to for opposing him simply because he's a black man, I'd be outraged. When a Latino leader did the same thing that she did, he was fired. People are tired of his excuses. They're tired of him falling back on the race card because that's all he really has at this point. And that's the only way that he has a path forward to re-election, if he blames everything on the man standing up to him because he's black. Mm-hmm. Well, I've got news for the mayor. He is the man. He is the one in charge. It'd be nice if he grew up and learned how to use the powers that the people of Chicago have given him. But he'd rather play the victim always and say that everything is falling apart around him, not because of his lack of effort, follow-through, or knowledge, but because there's some mysterious force still going after him because he's African-American. And he and I had a conversation a couple months ago, one of the rare conversations that we had, and it was about development in my ward, which his administration was fumbling. And when I called to question him and his team about it, he very quickly resorted to people only question me because I'm a black man in this role. And I'm like, I've worked with a Jewish mayor, a black lesbian mayor, and you. None of this has ever crossed my mind. I'm from a different generation, but yet I've been accused by him of being a descendant of the Confederacy, a supporter of all of this crap. And I'm like, my people weren't even, my family arrived here 100 years after the Confederacy. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh.
But I think what's truly remarkable is that even the African-American communities, African-American residents and communities all across Chicago are fed up with this excuse, because it looks as though a strong black man can't do anything without relying on the race card. And to be perfectly honest with you, he has even failed his own community by not being able to deliver and uplift them when he has control of every level of power here in the city of Chicago. What a failure.
Yeah, and by the way, he could use an accountant so that he could make sure he pays his city water bill on time, too. I mean, just a little bit of professional help on that. Ray Lopez is the alderman for the 15th Ward. Alderman Lopez, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
My pleasure, Dan.
And Alderman Lopez joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
You know what really keeps me up at night? It's the criminals feel more and more bold. They have no fear of any consequences because there are none. So I did what anyone with a family should do. I called Goldilocks. They're not just some cookie-cutter security company. Goldilocks has been protecting Chicagoland homes and businesses for 4 decades, 40 years. And they actually listen. Their technician comes out to the house. He takes a look at what you need to make your house a smart home with a security system you can monitor from anywhere. It's built specifically for me and my family. Motion sensors, smart locks, cameras, monitoring, all customized. I don't trust anybody in Illinois to protect my family. I do it, and I did it by calling Goldilocks. I trust Goldilocks to keep my house, my property, and my family safe. Tell them Sean Thompson sent you, and Goldilocks will include 3 months free monitoring with any new installation. Call Goldilocks at 708-899-5600. That's 708-899-5600. Or visit them online at GoldilocksInc.com.
Honey, the check engine light just came on and it's making that weird clunking sound again. This is all we needed before vacation. I just know this is going to be a huge repair bill, and our factory warranty expired last month.
Don't you worry your head about it, dear. Remember a few weeks ago when I was looking into vehicle protection plans? I signed us up for CarShield.
You did? But I thought those things were expensive and complicated.
Not CarShield. They have a low-cost month-to-month plan, and it covers our out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Plus, it includes free roadside assistance, free towing, and even car rental options at no additional cost.
Are you serious? So we won't have to pay for covered repairs again?
That's right. They even said we'd pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. It was so easy to get a free quick quote. Now we can focus on our trip instead of repair bills.
Don't wait for a breakdown to realize you need coverage. If you own a vehicle with an auto warranty about to expire or no warranty coverage at all, call CarShield now for your free quick quote. Call 800-330-8323. That's 800-330-8323. Call CarShield now and future-proof your ride. 800-330-8323. Again, 800-330-8323.
I'm attorney Stephen Leahy. You probably know I help business owners fight back against the IRS, but did you know I can help with state taxes too? Right now, Illinois is about to open a rare tax amnesty program. For a short window of time, you can pay certain back taxes and have the state wipe out the penalties and interest, no strings attached. But here's the thing, once that window closes, the chance to save is gone. The Illinois Department of Revenue will announce the exact start date and requirements any day now. When they do, the clock will start ticking. Go to fightbacknow.com and sign up for my daily email. I'll give you clear updates the moment news breaks, walk you through exactly what you need to do, and help you avoid mistakes that can cost you thousands. Don't get caught off guard. When the state offers a deal like this, you have to move quickly. Go now to fightbacknow.com and get on the list, because when the clock runs out, so does your opportunity to wipe out those extra charges and save big. That's fightbacknow.com.
When the seasons shift, you need a heating and cooling team you can trust to keep your home just right. That's where Arlington Heights Heating and Cooling, the original, comes in. This family-owned gem has been a local favorite for more than 45 years, sending only their own top-notch, highly trained technicians to your door. Whether it's a quick repair, a full installation, or anything in between, their work is unmatched, and their customer service feels like family. Keeping you cozy in the winter and cool in the summer, Arlington Heights Heating and Cooling delivers comfort you can count on. I've known Garrett and his family for years, and they are great friends of AM 560. Dial 847-545-1700 or visit arlingtonheightsheatingandcooling.com. Mention AM 560 and enjoy 20% off your first service call. Again, go to arlingtonheightsheatingandcooling.com. The original Arlington Heights Heating and Cooling, not the biggest, but absolutely the best.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 8:38, always a outstanding C.S. Lewis performance turned in from Max McLean. He is performing locally in Chicago, September 13th and 14th, doing a performance of the Screwtape Letters. We're going to talk to Max McLean about that performance, about C.S. Lewis, more relevant than ever. Actually, Nicole Shanahan, who is going to be RFK Jr.'s running mate, she made a C.S. Lewis reference in connection with the Burning Man cult that was taking place this week, where somebody was murdered, and probably more than one person, or suffered some other unfortunate fate. But anyway, it was really interesting because Nicole Shanahan is on this sort of Christian journey right now, from being a godless tech wife to becoming a Christian, and she mentioned the Screwtape Letters, so it's just interesting that this has come up in pop culture. Anyway, Max McLean at 8:38, and we're giving away 2 tickets to his Saturday 8 p.m. show. So you want to listen and call in. If you're whatever number caller I come up with, you can get 2 free tickets to Saturday's showing of the Screwtape Letters. Max McLean at 8:38. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 66 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. President Trump is vowing to stage a federal crackdown on crime in Chicago. Governor Pritzker objects to such a move, but Chicago Alderman Raymond Lopez, a Democrat, thinks accepting help might actually be a good idea.
The city of Chicago can definitely use Trump's help.
He adds that the city could use Trump's help to ensure public safety.
Violence still remains the number one issue that everyone is concerned about.
When asked yesterday about the possibility of sending the National Guard to Chicago to fight crime, Trump responded, quote, "We're going in," adding, "I didn't say when." Pritzker says he learned that federal agents and military vehicles have begun staging on nearby federal property, including Naval Station Great Lakes in North Chicago. He says he plans to fight any troop deployments in court. A man with a criminal history of attacking women and girls in the Chicago area is scheduled to be in court on September 15th, Perry Williams reports.
William Livingston has recently been accused of punching and knocking out Kathleen Miles last month in downtown Chicago. She reacted after learning of his track record.
Like, what is enough? You know, what does someone have to do where they're going to be held accountable?
Miles is still recovering from several broken bones in her face and a concussion.
News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Town Hall News, where conservative voices cut through the noise from breaking headlines to fearless opinion. We report what matters without apology. Written by people who actually believe what you believe. Town Hall tells the stories the corporate press buries, from President Trump to Capitol Hill, from pivotal elections to your everyday lives. Join the movement at townhall.com. Real stories, real reporters, real conservative media.
Okay, this basement is unreal. You've got a bar, theater seats. What is this place?
This is my escape. Forever Remodeling custom designed the whole thing. Not 1 square foot is wasted.
Man, mine still has a treadmill and a folding table.
Their designers asked a ton of questions. I wanted the ultimate game day setup. They delivered. Bar, big screen, sound that shakes the walls.
Visit Forever Remodeling today at foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, everremodeling.com. And tell them AM 560 sent you.
At Air Right Heating and Cooling, we know there's never a good time to be without AC in Chicagoland. If you can't remember the last time your AC was inspected, don't wait for it to fail during a heat wave. Get peace of mind by having Air Right take a look. Plus, AM 560 listeners get $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at air-right.com. That's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling. Doing it right since 1959.
So my mother is thinking of switching from Verizon to Pure Talk, but she's worried the deal sounds too good to be true. Michael, she said, how can those Pure Talk people offer me the same basic service as Verizon for so much less money? I said, Mom, go ask Google how much Verizon spends on advertising and promotion. A few seconds later, my mother said, oh my goodness, $12 billion a year? That must be a typo. I'll tell you what I told my mom. It's not a typo. Verizon spends $12 billion a year on advertising and promotion, and their customers are paying for it. Well, Pure Talk doesn't spend that kind of money on commercials. Trust me, I would know. Consequently, they can offer you and my mother unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data on a blazing fast 5G network for just $25 a month. Dial pound 250 and say the words Mike Rowe, and you'll get an additional 50% off your first month. That's pound 250 Mike Rowe. Pure Talk. Everything you need and nothing you don't.
This hourly segment is sponsored by TJ Stearns Financial Planning. Certified financial planner Tim Stearns holds a weekly discussion of the financial challenges to secure retirement. Listen Saturday at noon for Protect and Grow with Tim Stearns.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens, inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 19 minutes. Outbound, 25 minutes. On the Kennedy, inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 36 minutes. Outbound, 13 minutes. On the Eisenhower, inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 63 minutes. Outbound is about 24 minutes. On the Stevenson, inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 40 minutes. Outbound is about 21 minutes. On the Dam Ryan, inbound from 95th to the Burn Interchange, 37 minutes. Outbound is about 14 minutes. This report is sponsored by Straight Talk Wireless. Don't let data limits hold you back from being the GIF master in the family group chat. Switch to Straight Talk Wireless and get real unlimited data on a reliable 5G network. Straight Talk available at straighttalk.com or Walmart. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today, expect increasing cloudiness with temperatures reaching a high of 74. It won't be as warm, becoming breezy in the afternoon with a couple of showers and a possible thunderstorm. Gusty winds may accompany any downpour. Tonight, anticipate a few showers early on, then clearing up. Temperatures dropping to a low of 49, cooler than earlier. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. The Screwtape Letters, the C.S. Lew classic. I've seen it. I've seen Max McLean perform a number of C.S. Lewis works. I saw the Screwtape Letters at Billy Graham Center at Wheaton College. I think it was the Screwtape Letters. I believe he also did, now this is going from memory and it's fading, but I think he also did the fictional debate between C.S. Lewis and Sigmund Freud on the existence of God. Anyway, it's always outstanding performances. I'd like to watch him do, the entirety of C.S. Lewis's oeuvre. Max McLean, a Fellowship for Performing Arts founder and artistic director. He's the director of the Screwtape Letters, which will play September 13th and 14th at the Athenaeum Center on 2936 North Southport in Chicago. Screwtape Letters, September 13th and 14th at the Athenaeum Center in Chicago. And we're going to give away 2 tickets after the segment to a caller to be determined, caller number to be determined later. But anyway, Max McLean, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
So the, give us sort of a preview of, how you do a CS, in this case, the Screwtape Letters, obviously, but how you sort of conceive of putting on a C.S. Lewis performance to, sort of convey his great insights into, man, as well as, the sort of the morals of the stories that he wrote.
Right. Well, the Screwtape Letters is an epistolary novel that Lewis never intended for the stage, but there is a story within the book, and it's essentially a predator-prey story where Screwtape is the predator and this unsuspecting human on Earth is the prey. And so the question the play asks, using all the writings of Lewis to tell this story, is whether the predator will get its prey.
Well, right, and he's writing to his nephew Wormwood and explaining and sort of providing mentorship to him. So it's sort of the transference of how to seize souls, if you will, and there's where you get the insights into the human condition.
Exactly. What's, the fine art of tempting somebody that is on Earth. And unlike, we sort of have been shaped by movies like The Exorcist and that sort of thing. So we think of spiritual warfare in those kind of big, ugly terms, whereas Lewis sees them in in everyday little decisions that you make that change your heart. And so he's really focusing on those tiny everyday decisions. You know, we make every day we make 100 decisions a day, a week. Multiply that, a year, a lifetime. And Lewis concludes that central part of us that does the choosing, the soul, after every choice, is either getting closer to heaven or closer to hell. And he's instructing Wormwood, as you say, how to make sure that he doesn't go towards the enemy. The enemy is God in the story.
And what he describes too, as you're explaining, is what Pope Benedict later would describe as, the devil doesn't come dressed as the devil; it comes dressed as a false good. It's these false goods. It's not, as you say, it's not something that's obviously occult or obviously evil. It's the false goods we fall prey to.
Yeah, he is so right on in that observation.
And just to take a step back, like your focus on C.S. Lewis, fascination, if I may, with C.S. Lewis, where did this all begin?
Well, I've been doing our Mission Fellowship for Performing Arts, a New York City-based theater and film company that produces theater and film from a Christian worldview, meant to engage a diverse audience. And by diversity, we mean intellectual, religious diversity rather than, racial or gender diversity. So the kind of the only diversity doesn't get diversity. So anyways, so when you have that as a mission, it's not going to be too long before you land on the work of C.S. Lewis, primarily because, my goodness, he read everything from the Greeks to the moderns. He had a steel-trap mind that could remember everything he read and had this remarkable ability to translate it all into magnificent prose and speech. And then he did it all under the headship of Christ. And as you said earlier about Benedict's comment, he really understood that Satan masquerades as an angel of light, and you have to put on the armor of God. And so Lewis found ways of saying that really struck chords with that people that may not share the same religious viewpoint as he.
Yeah, I anytime we bring up C.S. Lewis and talk about him in sort of a cultural context, I can't help but think of Joy Behar's comment, and I can't remember who it was that said that she was influenced by C.S. Lewis, her favorite author, C.S. Lewis, and Joy Behar, because this was a conservative Republican. Joy Behar on The View said that, sort of scoffed and said that C.S. Lewis is a children's book author. You must be such right? You must be an intellectual. She knows like Chronicles of Narnia, and she thinks, it's just she probably just saw the movie, and she thinks C.S. Lewis is a children's book author, which probably a lot of people, not listening to their show necessarily, but a lot of people do.
I think that's right. Even though if you read the Narnia Chronicles closely, the level of theological insight within those stories is really at a very high level.
Oh no, no question. I mean, that's why Joy Behar was her own unintentional punchline, right? But just going back, when you started out in the arts, I mean, did you want to be? Yep. Did you want to be Paul Newman or Burt Reynolds?
I did. I didn't look like either one of them, so
so that was precluded.
Yes, that was precluded. But well, actually, I had I started acting in college, and I had a religious conversion experience soon after I graduated. And that took me to drama school in London, and I saw just such magnificent theater there. But what was interesting was that the plays that I would see, and most of them were classical to Shakespeare and really good writers, they always included in their writing, at least in parts, very precise and imaginative, explored Christian themes. And before my conversion, that would have went by me like a freight train. But after I was so, it just so grabbed my spirit. So that was how the idea of integrating my faith and my work came together. Just seeing great plays executed at a very high level, really touching my heart in a deep way because they didn't hide the Christian themes within them. And so that was a big motivator.
Do you ever? I mentioned you did do the fictional conversation between Freud and C.S. Lewis on the existence of God, right? Did you do that?
No, that was someone.
It was?
I didn't do that. That was Mark Germain, who's a friend of mine. Of course, they've made a film of it.
Yeah.
What we've done. And we've been to Chicago multiple times.
Yeah.
We were at we did the Screwtape Letters at the Mercury Theater in Southport for like 6 months back in the day. We've done multiple shows at the College of DuPage. We've done shows at Northwestern.
Did you do the Great Divorce too?
Yes, we did the Great Divorce at the College of DuPage, and we want to bring that back. We also had a show called The Most Reluctant Convert, which we made into a movie.
I did see that. Okay, that's what I'm thinking of. That's what I'm thinking of.
And then we had Further Up, Further In. So we've kind of, in the Lewis world for a long time, we've done other shows as well, but the shows that have the most traction for us have been the adaptation of Lewis's work.
Yeah, the Most Reluctant Convert. I mean, that's the C.S. Lewis conversion story, which happened while in the academy. I mean, he didn't start out as this Christian apologist.
No, he was a hard-boiled, vigorous debunker of Christianity, and through a long process, including a very intimate conversation with J.R.R. Tolkien and others, he, as he says, he gave in and admitted that God is God, knelt and prayed, perhaps that night, the most reluctant convert in all England.
Yeah, that was very good. Do you ever, in the adaptations of C.S. Lewis's work, I'm thinking like sometimes what they do at the Shakespeare Theater in Chicago, which is they'll put one of Shakespeare's classics in a modern context, like Othello will take place in more, it won't be the War of Cyprus in the 1600s. It'll be something that's like almost a modern day war context, just to add some sort of present application for it or a different spin on it. And I just wonder if you, from what I've seen of your work, it's pretty true to the strictures of the stories.
Yeah,
but do you,
although I don't,
do you ever think about that?
Yeah, I do, and you're right. I mean, we follow the text pretty closely, but I do think that you could, what you're suggesting, absolutely could be done. In fact, we just got the exclusive rights, worldwide rights, to make a film of the Screwtape Letters, and as we begin the script writing process for translating the book to the film, which you really have to open it up. That way, we probably will take a very close look at setting it, in contemporary times, so that you can deal with. And of course, the problem with contemporary times is, every time, 10 years from now, whatever cell phone you have in your hand is going to be obsolete. So,
yeah, right.
So it's going to date it that way. So you have to be careful how much you do.
Yeah, you're going to have to sort of work in some AI motif or something. Yeah, right. Max McLean, as you can tell, always fantastic productions. I'm sure this one will be no exception. The Screwtape Letters, September 13th and 14th at the Athenaeum Center, 2936 North Southport in the city. Max McLean is the founder and artistic director of the Fellowship for Performing Arts, as he was describing. And we will give 2 tickets away to the Saturday 8 p.m. show to whoever is our 5th caller at 312-642-5600. Fifth caller, 312-642-5600. 2 tickets to the Screwtape Letters, Saturday, 8 o'clock at the Athenaeum Theater in Southport. And for the rest of you, you're going to have to buy them yourself. Max McLean, thanks so much for joining us, and best of luck with the shows.
Thank you.
And he joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Dennis Prager here for AmFed Coin and Bullion. I've always been a strong believer in precious metals investment, and I've always been fascinated with rare coin collecting. But owning the wrong coins that only make dealers a lot of money can be catastrophic for your investment portfolio. AmFed Coin and Bullion specializes in taking people out of non-performing coin portfolios and turning them into gold, silver, or platinum bullion. They tailor a portfolio based on your goals and not what they want to sell you. You'll never experience scare tactics, misleading hype, or high-pressure sales from owner Nick Grovich and his very knowledgeable staff. They will evaluate your portfolio, show you how your coins have performed, and take the time to educate you on the ugly industry practices so that you can make an informed decision. Smart people can make very bad investments when they're under pressure and lack the facts. Call 800-221-7694. That's 800-221-7694. AmericanFederal.com.
Making the switch to a new IT services and support company may seem like a big ordeal, but if you're not getting the reliable support, consistent internet, and secure solutions your company needs every working day, then meet Access One, your local Chicagoland IT experts and proud new sponsor of Chicago's Morning Answer. These are the guys you want to talk to. Access One has been powering Chicago businesses with secure, reliable IT solutions for more than 30 years. From their headquarters in the West Loop, they're local and in tune with Chicago businesses. Whether it's voice over IP, phones, dedicated internet, managed cybersecurity, cloud backups, or 24/7 support, Access One is here for you and your business. Serving thousands of companies from Naperville to the North Shore, Access One is Chicago-owned and Chicago-run, a trusted IT partner for law firms, clinics, tech startups, manufacturers, and many more industries. They will make sure the switch for you is easier than you think. So call them today to discuss your business needs and tell them I sent you when you do. That number, 1-800-804-8333. Again, call Access One at 1-800-804-8333, 1-800-804-8333, or visit accessoneInc.com. That's AccessONE, AccessOneInc.com. Access One, tech made personal locally.
Virago is fending off viruses and making America healthy again.
Hi, my name is Dr. Michael Huber. I'm one of the co-founders of Virago, the immune enhancement cocktail. Here are what some Virago users have to say.
I started using Virago a little more than a year ago. I have 3 school-age kids, and they are constantly bringing home whatever bug is going around school, whether it's a cold, a sore throat, whatever it is. Everyone in the house was getting sick. I started taking Virago to help boost my immune system, and it worked. I haven't been sick since starting Virago. I use just a half a dose daily unless I feel like I'm getting something. Then I'll take a full dose for a day or 2, and I'm fine. I also feel great and more on top of my game, like my memory is sharper. I'm not forgetting things. I absolutely recommend Virago.
Boost your immune system with Virago. Order your bottle today. Visit myvirago.com. That's myvirago.com.
And use promo code IMMUNE to get 30% off.
That's myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. Virago and Maha, making America healthy again.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, we have a winner for those 2 tickets to the Screwtape Letters, Saturday night at the Athenaeum Theater downtown. Joe from Elmhurst got them. All right, congratulations, Joe. Enjoy the show. It'll be great. I mean, honestly, I'm a huge fan, even though I mistook one of the shows I attended thinking it was him, but it was another also very good stage actor. Before we leave you, I thought this is sort of a fun moment between Peter Doocy and Donald Trump yesterday at his SpaceCom press conference. Off topic, Peter Doocy asked him if he was bemused by the reports of his demise being greatly exaggerated, that of the president.
Something completely different, but about a big viral social media trend over the weekend. How did you find out over the weekend that you were dead. You see that?
No.
People didn't see it for a couple days. 1.3 million user engagements as of Saturday morning about your demise.
Really? I didn't see that. You know, I have heard it's sort of crazy, but last week I did numerous news conferences, all successful. They went very well, like this is going very well. And then I didn't do any for 2 days, and they said there must be something wrong with him. Biden wouldn't do him for months. You wouldn't see him. And nobody ever said there was ever anything wrong with him, and we know he wasn't in the greatest of shape. No, I heard that. I get reports. Now, you knew I did an interview that lasted for about an hour and a half with somebody, and everybody saw that was on one of your competitors.
Yeah, Daily Caller, I saw that. That's the one where you said Maggie Brennan over there at Face the Nation is a nasty person, and Caroline Leavitt said she's stupid, and you could put that on the record. That was a fun one, too. Speaking of those rumors of Trump's demise, Field Marshal Tim, the guy who is a big supporter of the First Amendment, unless you say something he doesn't like, he's the governor of Minneapolis. Some know him by his moniker, Tampon Tim. He thought he was being funny, trying to foment those rumors of Trump's demise.
You get up in the morning and you doom scroll through things, and although I will say this, the last few days you woke up thinking there might be news. Just saying. There will be news sometime, just so you know. There will be news.
There'll be news for you, too, Tim, won't there? Class act, that Tim Walz. Good representative of that party, that movement, masquerading as a party. Thank you so much for joining us on this edition of Chicago's Morning Answer. Back tomorrow. It is now 9 a.m. on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
It's not if, but when. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. President Trump says he will